right. Well, thanks for doing this, Adeel.
I'm
Young,
excited.
young coconut.
Young coconut,
Yeah. So I think coconut. There you go.
coconut, like
So
astronaut.
yeah, there you go. So I think how we should start this is just by kind of telling me more about you. Like, what's your story? How'd you get here? What's some things that you want people to know about you?
I mean, there's a lot of things I want people to know about me. I've always been um, an artist in my soul. I love drawing. I love acting. I love experiencing art from other people. But one of the things that I did that, if anyone's listening, I don't want you guys to do too, is I didn't have the full belief in myself. So instead of sticking with my art, I let peer pressure say, "Hey, you're good at football, so why are you doing that drama stuff?" And yeah, football was great in high school, and I wouldn't change that part,
Mhm.
but I wish I had done both. I
Mhm.
wish I hadn't let peer pressure and stuff influence me on that way. And I'm born in 92, so around high school, that's still an era where the F word wasn't the F word was still a bad word. And nowadays I feel like the F word is a completely different slur, right? And that gets thrown around, and everyone's just like, like when you like women and you're being told you like guys, you take it as an insult. And now that I'm an older man, I think to myself, wow, like that was really stupid of me to let those people take those opportunities, and it was probably jealousy. So
Mhm.
yeah, I played sports, but I mean, at a certain point I got realistic, and I'm like, well, I'm 5'10". Um, some of the positions I would need to play 5'10", like I played mostly football and rugby. So I was a forward in rugby. To play at the pro level, I'd be a back. I never quite figured out nutrition, which is the path I'm on right now. But with football, I was fullback, which it's great at the high school level. At the U of A level, I got some play time,
Mhm.
but the
Yeah.
idea of making the CFL or making the NFL, that's just not something that was going to happen. Professional rugby, I realized I wasn't going pro rugby when I was on the Edmonton Gold. That's the All Star team.
Okay.
We played the Vancouver All Star team. I don't remember what you guys are called, but they slaughtered us. And I was like, okay, so, that's not something I'm going to be able to do. So, played a lot of sports, feel some regrets about not being super into art, but, when you live with regrets, you're not really living. Um, yeah, so let's transition. So, what would I do with sports if I couldn't play sports at the highest level? I didn't believe in myself enough to go back to art.
Mm.
So I said,
Did you feel like when you were had to do that, it was just kind of like fitting in, just doing what other people were doing? It's like, oh, there's not a lot of cool kids doing art. It's like not a lot of people in general just doing art. Everyone's into sports, so may as well just try to do something in sports. Was that kind of the
I
feeling?
definitely think that was part of it as mixed race. Like I'm Persian on my mom's side, East Indian on my dad's side. Little bit of this, little bit of that, as we all are.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
gonna do 23 and Me right now, but yeah, that was a big part of it.
Okay.
Peer pressure, and just there was a lot of status. In high school, I was the only person that looked like me, that had like an Indian last name, Kishwani, like to be on the football team.
Did you go to
So
school here?
I went to school here. I went to Ross Shep,
Okay.
in the northwest end of Edmonton.
Okay.
And
Just not
yeah,
like not a
so
lot of diversity or a lot of brown people there?
no, not
No.
not at that point in time.
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, the demographics have definitely changed throughout the years, but at
Yeah.
that point in time, I mean, a football player with an Indian last name, like, it was such an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
So I got a lot of props from a separate community. So you know why would I pursue my passion when I'm being propped up? Like I didn't understand those things. I'm guilty of being a people pleaser, which is something that I need to work on
Yeah.
to level up.
Yeah.
But and that was part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a hard worker. I used more intelligence than natural athletic gifts to be able to play and do what I needed to do. And a lot of my inspiration came from Dragon Ball superheroes. So, I wanted to
Same,
push my
same.
limits. I
Yeah.
wanted to, be the best I could. And that's something that sports it really challenges you to do that. Now, as I've gotten older, I have a new respect for some of the things that come with art, that come with acting. I mean, that's why I'm here. I enjoyed your art, and
Thank you.
we met at a party, and we are speaking about art, and here we are.
Hmm.
Another thing I'd love to share is at a certain point in my life, I started to slow down.
Okay.
And that's when I really started focusing on academia. What I didn't realize, because it was a very slow process, is my kidneys were failing.
Mm,
And I actually was discovered at stage 5, full kidney failure, and
really?
immediately had to go on dialysis. So, at the hospital, I had like, an artery thing, like put it embedded here, tubes out of my neck, like tubes in my chest. Like it was quite the ordeal, eventually going on hemodialysis. So that's when you get your blood cleaned from a machine.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
I'm
I dated somebody that was a nurse that did dialysis. So she always told me about the stories of like how it's supposed to go and everything. So I kind of know. So, but I also know that the troubles that it comes with it.
Yeah.
It's like just you say you're on dialysis. A lot of people are like, okay, you have to go somewhere to do something, but it's like a very important thing where it's like it interferes with your life on a significant
Oh,
level.
it's a part-time job, and the
Yeah,
reality is you're on life support. Your
yeah,
kidneys do not work, and these machines are cleaning your blood
yeah.
because my skin was turning gray. I was up to 345 pounds, and
Mm,
my doctor was a guy that played on the same rugby team as me. So he was still seeing younger old me. And his only thing is, oh, well, you're getting older, but these types of things don't happen in your late 20s and early 30s. Like, turns out I had a rare autoimmune condition that, does kind of trigger in your late 20s, early 30s called IgA nephropathy.
okay,
So, yeah, basically my red blood cells didn't recognize my kidneys anymore and they started eating them,
really.
right? So it was a process where even to get the kidney transplant, not only do you have to like, go public and be like, hey, like I need help, which is hard,
Yeah,
it's hard for anyone. It's definitely hard for a guy that comes from a sporting background. And I lost a lot of my friends because they were so afraid of the vulnerability I needed to show. They were afraid of being asked to give a kidney. They were just afraid. And it took me a long time to understand why, because I'm like, well, these are my brothers. Like I blood, sweat, and tears on the field. Like,
hmm,
like why wouldn't you step up? But it just comes down to character, and it comes down to there's a big difference between friends and acquaintances,
yeah.
and you don't really know that when you're young. You're young. Facebook,
You
everybody's your
you
friend.
think you share a laugh with somebody that you're your friend, but it's not necessarily the case.
Exactly.
So yeah,
But you don't know until you know.
yeah.
And that actually reconnected me with art. I started writing poetry on dialysis. I started
Mm,
sharing my experiences on dialysis, thinking if I could help just one other person the way other people blogging about kidneys have helped me, I'd be pretty proud of myself. And the
mm,
more vulnerable I get, the more I connected with the me I was before dreaming about, being a pro athlete, before thinking, okay, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to get a law degree and be a sports agent. And I went back to like being me, and I'm like, wow, like I get a lot from writing poetry. I really want to get back into acting. I have so many reasons to live, and that let me fight because for me, being on dialysis and being that overweight, like some of it was water weight, and I was able to get rid of it using a drug called Lasix, where um, it can be in pill form, but mine was so extreme that I was on an IV and I was constantly, just urinating and getting rid of excess waste because my kidneys were not working, but this Lasix just forces everything to get pushed out.
mm.
Um, but dialysis saved my life. So yeah, people have some negative views on dialysis. And I do feel like the term dialysis or hemodialysis, it's more for people that aren't on dialysis. So it doesn't sound as scary as it's like, wow, like
Like
you're
yeah,
on life
you're
support.
on life support pretty much. Yeah.
And unfortunately, during my time in dialysis, being that we are in Canada, we're actually filming this right here in Edmonton, Alberta.
Yep.
Uh, in Edmonton, a lot of the dialysis patients, they're not young. They're old. They're seniors. They're towards like the end of their life. Some of them aren't even on protocols to get a kidney transplant. Whereas that was my goal. And I remember one doctor telling me it's going to take 3 to 5 years, if ever, to lose enough weight to get that kidney transplant.
Mm.
And when the shift changed and the next 2 weeks came, I had an amazing doctor named Dr. Courtney. And he shared with me that Selena Gomez had a kidney transplant. He shared with me that you would not believe the kindness that's out there. And it might not come from a friend, and it might not come from a family member.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might have to take a deceased kidney, but you will get a kidney. So you have to believe in yourself, lose that weight, and get where you need to be,
Yeah.
because this is your life and it's in your hands. Doctors are here to help.
Yeah.
They are not there to like save you.
Yeah.
No one will save you.
Unless you want to save yourself. That's the
Only
thing,
you
right?
can save you
Yeah,
and God.
which is cool because like, there's somebody needs to give you that hope. Maybe you're in that space where you're like, man, it's just an uphill battle. Like I don't, you're looking at a mountain, like how do I even take my first step on this mountain?
That's exactly how I felt,
Yeah,
especially with that first doctor being very, very negative
pessimistic
and
and
pessimistic.
yeah.
And I was on dialysis for under 2 years,
Okay,
and I did lose over 100 pounds during that time.
nice.
I got a kidney transplant from a wonderful woman that's friends with myself and very good friends with my mom. Her name was Nadia Frank. Now it's Nadia McDonald.
Okay,
She went on, despite what the doctor said, after kidney donation, about, you're supposed to wait a year. About 6 months later, she revealed to us she was pregnant, and her and her partner Paul, they had their first baby. I got the pleasure of going to their wedding, and bringing her kidney to the wedding. I was transplanted for that wedding,
yeah, yeah.
and they've just recently had like a second baby,
Okay,
right? So they've got two boys. She got her dream. And the crazy thing is, even Nadia's story, it's really special to me,
yeah,
because she also was struggling with weight. At one point in time, she was a very large woman. She got down to 135 pounds using keto, being determined that she was going to find like the love of her life, have kids, have her dream life. But the timing couldn't be more perfect, and she stepped up and volunteered to give the kidney. And what happened was my sister got tested, and they only test one at a time. So my sister's kidneys are good, but not good enough to donate.
okay,
Nadia stepped up for me.
nice.
And despite us not being related, we were a 94% match.
Mm.
Now, I am blessed to have a blood type of AB positive, so I can actually receive a kidney from just about anyone,
Yeah,
because I'm the universal receiver blood-wise.
okay,
So it would just be like if there are any genetic markings or other such things that are a little bit beyond like my pay grade, and it'd probably take me an hour to explain it poorly.
okay,
But basically, being the universal receiver, that's, I guess, in hindsight, that's a gift.
yeah.
When I was younger, I'm like, well, it sucks. Like, I can't even donate blood, because they're like,
Nobody, you can
you
donate to
can,
your
I
specific blood
can
type, but nothing
donate to
else.
myself, but I'd have to pay money to store it for myself for the future.
Mm. What's
And
the universal donor? It's like O negative or O positive or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's one of the O's.
yeah, one of those.
It's one of the O's, yeah.
Yeah.
And then B negative is the one that is the cursed or very rare and difficult blood type, where if you
Mm.
have that blood type, yeah, you're pretty much only able to get from other B negative. If I'm correct, I
Okay.
hope I hope I am, because
Yeah. I don't even know my blood type. I remember trying to donate blood once, but they told me, but I just completely forgot.
well, you know what? That's actually the best way. Like, you can pay and get something called cross hatching, and you can pay and find out what your blood type is. But if you go donate blood, not only are you going to save someone's life, but they'll tell you what your blood type is.
Yeah.
And then maybe that information will help you in the future. I think it's really good to know what your blood types are, when you're a parent, because
Yeah.
you're gonna need to know what your kids are. And,
Yeah.
like, there's always that upward battle for those little humans to become, grown adults. And
Yeah.
like, my struggles happened, like, young in my life. I was sick. I got really healthy and put all my chips into, like, playing sports and getting to have certain experiences. I was good enough in rugby that I got experiences to play in Wales, Scotland,
Nice.
Ireland, and Australia. And I
Nice.
was the only Canadian on the team at Bond University during my years that wasn't an Aussie or a New Zealander. So that was
Okay.
that was kind of special and kind of awesome. And it was like, okay,
Did you feel like you belong in those circles? Because
yeah,
yeah.
it was very familiar. Like, I'm
Okay.
not a big drinker, so sometimes that was hard with rugby. That's a big part of the culture.
Yeah.
But as you get to those higher levels, and I was good at kicking the ball, start scoring some points, start scoring some tries. Well, it doesn't really matter what you do socially. And I mean, I was at an age where I would enjoy a little bit of drinking. Um, I'm in Canada. I prefer cannabis. Got a CBD bath bomb right here.
Nice.
But
Bath
yeah,
bomb. That's unique.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I haven't used it, but I thought it was
Okay.
cool
Okay.
when I saw it in the store. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to take away pain and stuff. And
Okay.
I'm big into pain management and stuff. I don't
Yeah.
really like taking painkillers and stuff.
Oh, me neither.
I've had a few surgeries. Rugby had this thing dislocated 9 times and two surgeries.
Mm.
One was fairly recently. And yeah, this past summer I fell down some stairs, ruptured my quadricep, had to get that surgery. And yeah, I still got a lot of painkillers left over because, CBD was a better pain management for me. And I think like experiencing a little bit of manageable pain now in the future will allow these drugs to really actually help me as I'm older and really need them.
Yeah.
So I'm very cautious because I don't want to be on 100 pills. I want to be on as few as possible, but we all age and we all experience pain, so the less pain,
Yeah.
the better.
100%. No, I feel the same way where it's like if I can just manage that pain, I'd rather not take a pill because like you said, if if you just start popping it for everything, then you're gonna need more and more just to deal with more extreme pains and stuff like that. Cool, cool. So, what are you doing now for art? Because I know you said when you were doing dialysis, you got into poetry and wanted to start writing that way. Did that lead to anything? Did that make you want to do something with it, or is this kind of like was it like self-expression mostly?
Yeah, so it was self-expression, it was sharing, it was in case I die, let me release like my soul out there and see what that brings into my life. Let me listen to music I wouldn't have listened to. Again, Dr. Courtney shared Selena Gomez's story. And shortly after her transplant, she released an album called Rare, which is still like an album that I'm not the demographic for, but I know the songs that she wrote pre-kidney transplant and post-kidney transplant and during her struggles. And she got to skip dialysis and go straight to a transplant, and that's very blessed and very lucky, but advantages do come when you are a global superstar
Mm-hmm.
and the stage that she caught things at. But even her, like she had a thrombosis issue, so they had to take a vein from the inside of her thigh and internally like adjust it to like make sure her kidney was working.
Yeah.
My kidney transplant went smoother than hers, but I
Mm.
was also on dialysis for a while, so
Mm.
the journeys are different. But connecting with her music, listening to music that was really outside of what I would normally listen to, more rap, more rock and roll, little bit of metal. I've since outgrown metal because and it helped me connect with a side of myself more artistic. Helped me balance the feminine and the masculine and really see it's like no, like there's a lot of beauty in art. There's a lot of beauty in struggle, and a lot of my art came from some of the struggles, but it also helped me understand art. It made me want to like go to the ocean. It made me want to find like, um, the woman that was going to be my wife one day. Like I had so many things to fight for. I know that in a perfect world, I'd love to have at least one son, one daughter, but something in my heart and a few psychics and clairvoyants. So I've been told quite a few times that I'm going to have a daughter. And, the typical response a lot of my guy friends say is like, oh, well, I want a son. And I'm like, you know what? I'm well equipped to be a girl dad. I want one of each. But if they're healthy, that would be great. And I know that I'll be, telling them my story. And,
Mm.
if I could go back in time and tell younger me, like, dude, why are you not getting your blood test? And younger me would have said, oh, well, we were sick when we were younger. I'm like, yeah, but you're gonna save yourself from
Yeah.
something. I know a friend named Alicia. I don't somewhere in the States. We met on Instagram. She's also got IgAN, but they caught it early enough that she's on pills and she's got her native kidneys.
Mm.
So she didn't go through the kidney
So
transplant
if you
thing.
did catch it early enough, it would have been
Potentially,
preventable
potentially.
potentially. Okay.
There's no guarantee on that, but
Mm.
potentially I could be on some pills. And either way, I'm on some pills. So
Yeah.
This right here is my Dosette, and I just
Yeah.
took my morning dose, which is 2 containers. I take about 20 pills in the morning, 3 big magnesium pills. I'm deficient in magnesium, so
So
I need
even
a
though
little
the
help.
transplant happened, you're still fighting a battle every
I'm
day.
I'm on medication for life. They're called immunosuppressive drugs.
Mm.
And what those do is they lower my immune system enough that my body doesn't notice that Nadia's kidney. And the reason I'm pointing here, guys, is you get your kidney implanted here. The first kidney goes on the right side of the abdomen. If you need another kidney transplant, they go on the left side. It doesn't go where the native kidneys went. A lot of people don't know that, but
So are you? They take out the native kidneys?
only if you have polycystic kidney disease, which I didn't. And polycystic kidney disease are only removed because they never stop growing,
Okay.
and they get cysts on them.
Yeah.
Whereas, no, they don't remove them unless blood work shows it's a danger. So I wouldn't say limitations, but my blessings of having a kidney transplant involve me taking these immunosuppressive drugs. So if someone's sick, chances are I'll get sick.
Mm.
All right, so I got to be a little bit more careful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm not plugged into a machine. I
Yeah.
can travel the world.
Yeah.
Since my transplant, I've been to Australia twice. I've been to Barbados. So couldn't do that on dialysis. On dialysis, I had to scratch and claw just to be able to go to Halifax, and I needed a hospital to take me on and let me do some dialysis runs whilst I was there.
Mm.
And that's a reality for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I know that I'm very blessed. So yeah, I've got to wake up and some people meal prep. I've got to pill prep. I've got to make a
Yeah.
bunch of these to get through the week, or if I'm going on vacation, I got to make a bunch of these. I got to carry it around. And at night, luckily, I only take like 3 pills in the day. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
20, and then 3 magnesium pills intermittently through the day, and it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Another thing I have to do, and it's ironic, really, because I was putting off getting blood tested, and that led to one of the most extreme cases. And many doctors were surprised I was alive because I was in stage 5. I was running around with kidneys that just weren't working,
Mm.
right? Like, when they discovered me, I was pretty close to death. I was actually going blind. That's what finally got me to go in the hospital,
Mm.
right? Because hey, like,
Yeah.
as an appreciator of visual arts, I don't want to lose my sight.
Yeah. Of course.
And I mean, shout out to all the amazing people that don't have sight and still find ways to create and enjoy art. I have the utmost respect for them. But for me, growing up, having the vision and having the eye for art that I have, that was something I was like, I finally got checked out, and it was like, yeah, you're pretty far gone.
Mm.
And yeah, I just wanted my vision back.
Yeah.
And yeah, it turned out, yeah, I went through some trials. I started off in the Misericordia Hospital and got out. Things were still not fully settled, but my blood pressure was regulated. And then a GP, I switched GPs, and the new GP saw me. He took one look at my legs and realized I was actually in a nephrotic attack that the Misericordia missed. Went to the U of A, got admitted, and once they dealt with a nephrotic attack, which meant my feet were the size of like loaves of bread, my thighs, my calves, they were all the same size. It was just so full. And then, like I mentioned, like that led to me being on Lasix. But
Mm.
that's like having no kidney function and a nephrotic attack at the same time. Like I was very fortunate to be alive. I think I inherited my nanima, my grandma, my mom's side. I think I developed her high pain threshold.
Okay.
It's got its pros and
I
cons.
think you're also young, so you were, your body
Definitely.
was resilient as well.
Definitely. And thanks. Yeah. So that reminds me. So yeah, on dialysis, there's not really like many protocols for like the younger people. So you've got to be your own advocate, and you've got to remind them, hey, like, okay, now I've lost the weight. I'm at 35 or less BMI. Fun fact, if your BMI is over 35, there's many life-saving surgeries they can't do on you because,
Mm.
to do an operation at those higher weight levels, there's so many complications.
Okay.
But, and they really only really do prefer you to be BMI 30 or under, because then cutting and survival, post-surgery, all of those things go
Mm.
up,
Mm. Okay.
right?
Cool.
So
Um, that reminds me, I need to do my blood work too. I've had
there
the
you
paper
go.
for
So
like
like
two
you
weeks.
said at the beginning of this recording, it's like, what do you want people to know? What part of your story we want to share?
Yeah,
That's the
get your
thing I
blood
want to
work done.
share.
Get your blood
I
work done.
want you to get your blood work done. I don't want you to be afraid of the doctors. Like, not every doctor is going to have flawless advice, but
Yeah.
your blood work tells the story of what's going on inside your body. And if anything more severe happens, there's more and more blood panels that can be done. There's further testing, but when you get your bloods done, they also check your urine, and that tells a lot.
Yeah. So that like kind of reminds me a little bit about my situation. Well, not obviously to the degree that you've had it, but like I have a autoimmune disease too, and so like I get like psoriasis and stuff. So it's like my cells are just attacking each other.
Hmm.
So I do get sick easier than most people. It does last longer than most people. And for me, like I've had this. So I was planning a trip last year in the summer to do a West Coast trip. So I want to go to Vancouver, stay there for a couple weeks, go down the west coast to like Seattle, Portland, San Jose, and stuff like that, and then end up in LA, stay there for a couple weeks, go on my way back, hit up Vegas, and then go straight shot back to Edmonton. That didn't happen because 2 days before I was supposed to go, I got like this weird feeling in my ear. I'm like, oh, it's probably just an ear infection. So then I went to got some pills, went to the doctors, the hospital, got some pills. But then it's like as I was taking it, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then 3 days had gone by, and I'm like, this is just excruciating pain. And the eardrops that they gave me didn't work. The pills they gave me didn't work. So then I went to the U of A hospital because they have better equipment there than my
That's the
local
hospital that saved
hospital.
my life.
Yeah. So I went there, and then the it was at that time that pain I was feeling was like unbearable, and it was to the point where like if I was standing up, like I couldn't like stay standing for a while. And it's like I just had to keep my head down and just kind of slouch the whole time just because I'm like I just when I pick up my head, it's just like I couldn't. I was like feel like I would throw up, couldn't stand up properly. And so they did a bunch of tests on me, but there was this one doctor. I wish I could remember his name. It was like a German sounding name. It's like I can't remember off the top of my head, but he actually seen like some veins, some like weird color veins in my ear, and so he's like, that could be shingles. And so he like did a swab and everything, and then they gave me morphine and stuff like that to numb the pain. And then they're like, it's gonna take some while for the tests. I go back home the next day. I can't stand up for the life of me. Like I need help standing up. Like I had to like, you know, uh, get help to the washroom so I could pee, and like just somebody had to hold me. And I was like, if I drank or ate anything, I would just throw it back up completely. And even if I stayed standing for too long, then I would just throw up. So then I went back to the hospital the next day. And those doctors that day, they're just like, here's pains, here's a pain med, here's a pain med. Like, you're feeling good
Yeah.
enough to go, you're feeling good enough to stand up. Okay, you get out. We need somebody else for the bed. So, like you said, you have to be your own advocate. I'm like, no, no, something's really wrong. Something's really wrong. But then as I figured out as the night went on, like they just weren't really caring about me. I'm like, no, there's something more wrong. It's not just pain. Like, yeah, I feel pain, but there's something underlying behind this.
Hmm.
And so they're like, it was like, mm, they just keep giving me pain meds, like, oh, we don't know what to do, kind of thing. It's like, and then I just realized they weren't even coming back to me to check up on me. And I'm like, fuck this, I'm out of here. I just left. But thankfully, that doctor that I told you about, the next day he calls me. He's like, "Yeah, it's shingles. You need to get some. It's like Valocirix or something like that. That's the medication you need,
Hmm.
and you need to get it ASAP."
Yeah, shingles can kill.
Yeah. So then I got it, and I started taking the pills. Everything started feeling a lot better. But I was at the point where if I took it like the first day or the second day, I wouldn't have done anything. Like it wouldn't have done anything. I would have felt good. But I took it on like the sixth day, and because of that, it got to a point where half my face was paralyzed from it because I took so long, and I couldn't hear out of this ear at all. And so, like literally, if I smiled, it'd be like this, and then this side would be all drooping down. I couldn't blink my eye because it was paralyzed, and they call it
Bell
Bell's
palsy?
palsy. Yeah,
Yes, I'm
yeah.
very familiar with that.
Yeah, so that's what that happened on like this side of the face, and it felt like my skin was on fire. So if I had to keep an ice pack on my face the whole time, otherwise if I took it off for more than a minute, it would just start burning up again. And then I had to like just keep. So I was like, and it went on for nearly a month before I started like getting before I started subsiding, before I started like feeling better. And to this day, like I still don't have like full hearing in this ear. I have like 70% hearing in this ear, and there's always a constant ring.
Wow.
So it's like just like
And if you weren't your own advocate, that probably
yeah,
would have taken over your whole
yeah.
face.
But
And
also that doctor, he recognized it right away. like he looked at it, it's like he just saw that one little vein or something like that. It's like, yeah, you have a weird vein right there. It's like maybe I'm gonna check something. And he did like a shingle swab, and that's what it was. So like if he didn't do it, if I had another doctor, I wouldn't know if I'd be even here today because I'm like it's not something I can just recognize in myself, right?
Of course not. I
Yeah,
mean, and that's why, we
yeah,
go to the doctors. And you know what? Like, I applaud you for actually going. Like a
yeah.
lot of other, because you were probably quite young when this happened. How old were you
Last year,
last year? So you're
yeah,
29,
yeah,
right? So you're in your 20s, early 30s. Something's going wrong.
yeah.
It would have been so easy to thought, it's just an ear problem, and start your journey to the West
Yeah,
Coast.
see, it was 2 days before, so I'm like, if I just left without dealing with it, I was like, oh, it'll get better as I go. It would have been a shit show.
You would have been you might have died on the road.
Yeah, for real. And then it's like at least at home, I had like family and friends to take care of me and stuff like that. So it's like
Exactly.
if I didn't have anybody, then it'd be like, how do I even get up on my own? I couldn't.
Yeah.
If I stood up, I would just tip over right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, imagine how hard it was for everything you went through.
Mm,
Imagine doing that without the support of family and friends,
yeah.
right? So sometimes people don't understand. They're like, "Well, you've got your own place. How come you're always at your parents?" And it's like, "Well,
It's a community
I
feel,
mean, it's
like
it's
being
not
around
only like
people.
my parents like got to like help rebuild me, and now my dad's going through some health struggles, and it's like
Now you got to be there for him.
exactly, and
Yeah.
it's an honor and a privilege to be there for him. It
Yeah.
is a big dream of mine to do a lot of traveling. I would love to live at a warmer place than Edmonton. Like
Yeah.
our our blood, it does not come from a cold
Not at all,
place,
man.
and Edmonton's a can be a very cold city. It's winter's coming, but and I implore any young people, like no cap, like you will never have anyone love you the way your parents love you. And for all of you that don't have great relationships with your parents, you know, bless your hearts. And I know that, like, there is found family and that can be supportive, but some people that, it's like, oh, like my dad's like up my butt, my mom's smothering, but that's love. And it's unfortunate that it takes us so long to see some of these things, but
Yeah.
those are gifts, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
and
Because it's
especially our cultures.
yeah, especially in those formative years where it's like 13 to like 24, you kind of need that space and you want to do your own thing and find,
Because you
figure
got
out
to be
stuff for
you.
yourself. But yeah, once you get past that and you get to your late 20s, early 30s, you start reconnecting with your family more. And that's what happened to me. That's what happened to a lot of people I know is that they just needed that space for a little while.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like, okay, well, I figured myself out because at that point you're like, who am I?
Hmm.
And you're trying to figure that out with like your parents being like, sometimes they're oppressive, sometimes they can be just all up in everything. It's like I don't know why like I'm the way I am. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And it's like I want to figure out what I want to do and stuff like that. So it's like them telling you whatever, do this, do that. So it's like it feels like they're just always in your business, but
Exactly. Yeah.
they're obviously just doing it out of love and trying to like guide you in a specific way. And not every parent. So this is what I figured out. Like I thought when I was younger, I'm like parents, they have it all figured out. And the
Exactly.
more I grew up, I'm like, oh, this is their first time doing it too.
Hmm.
They don't know it. They're just trying their best. So it's like, why am I being so hard on them? Because I was hard on my parents, not like hard on them like verbally, but like just mentally. I'm like, oh, why are they like this? Why are they like
Of
that? You know?
course. And I had the same internalizations.
Yeah. So
Yes.
then once you figure it out, like they're doing this for the first time too. They're trying to figure it out for the first time too. Then you just have sympathy and it's like, yeah, it's like, maybe I wasn't the best kid. So I was like, imagine trying to deal with somebody like me, as their kid. It's
Exactly,
like,
right. And I mean,
like I was a
it's
troublemaker sometimes. So
of course, and that's just part of figuring out who you are,
yeah,
and part of being a young boy becoming a man,
yeah,
right? And it's those lessons that I hope, like, if I'm blessed enough to have children, that I can kind of remember what it was like to be growing up and kind of be able to give them some of those freedoms. And hey, I'm going to give them some advice that my parents gave me, and it's just not going to make sense till they're older.
yeah,
And that's part of life.
hmm,
It's your journey, it's my journey, my reality's here, your reality's here, and when we talk, we're creating this shared reality,
hmm,
right? So when it comes to our parents, yeah, it's like we are a product of our parents, but we're also a product of the environment and our own choices and everything. And when you combine all those things, that's how you get Johan the artist,
yeah.
right? That's how you get young
Young
coconut.
coconut.
Yeah, that's how it happens, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes some people need help embracing who they are, and sometimes people know who they are, and it's just like, give me some space,
Hmm.
let me be me, and accept me for me.
Yeah.
and everybody goes through a different version of this journey. And
Hmm.
that's, again, like it's actually art. Like every single person on earth, if we were to look at their life as an outsider, humans are art,
Yeah.
right? And there's a deeper meaning to everyone, and we're not going to know everyone's story. And that's why some people that are artists that like choose to share like what they share, it's like you might, there's a couple of paintings that I've seen of yours, right? And one of the ones that spoke to me, I mean, to some people it's just a yin yang on a rectangle, but it was texturized, it was beautiful.
Thank you.
And I saw life, I saw death, I saw pain, I saw the essence of yin yang, but I also saw like Johann the artist. There were
Hmm.
certain things like that, a million people could do a million versions of that painting, but that was you. That was your
None of them would
soul.
ever be the same.
No, you
Yeah.
had your soul on display. That was your
Yeah.
interpretation of yin yang, the balance of the masculine, the feminine, the balance of the life force, death, destruction versus life and creation. And
Yeah.
that's something that like spoke to me
Yeah.
immediately. There's a lot of pieces. I mean, from simple things like enjoying Magneto and Batman,
Yeah.
you know,
Some iconic stuff.
like some iconic
Yeah.
stuff, that's iconic for people our age,
Yeah.
to other things like, like some postmodern like pop art. Like you
Yeah.
did a collection for was it a salon or a
Yeah. It was like a med
skincare,
spa.
a med spa? Yeah, I really love those. Check out Johan the artist Instagram. But there are some the pieces we're talking about. There's a series of four, and it was three women and one guy, and it
Yeah.
was a mixture of human and plant, and I really found it like very beautiful.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. And like even the yin yang, it's like it speaks to me directly because I'm a Gemini too. So I've always had that
Twins,
duality and that
yeah,
balance in my life. Just that's why I'm always grateful for the good and the bad that's in my life. Like, yeah, good because obviously it's good, but even for the bad, it's like when I'm at my low points, I'm grateful for that because then it makes me appreciate the high points even more.
exactly.
But it's like if I was all high, then it wouldn't be the same,
And then it's just the
It doesn't
standard,
feel
and
it
you
doesn't
don't
feel like
even
real life.
appreciate what you
It
have.
doesn't feel like real life anymore. It
Yeah,
just feels like a dream.
yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't feel like, yeah, because I'm like if I was always like that, I wouldn't want to live that life. I want the struggle, and it makes because of the struggle, it makes me think about and self-reflect about like why did I end up in the struggle? Like who am I gonna be through the struggle and stuff like that? And then it's like I become a better person because of the struggle.
Hmm.
You don't like you can, but you don't become a better person through just good things happening.
No,
In my personal opinion, like people need struggle. A young man needs struggle in his life to figure out how to become like a boy needs to struggle in his life to how to become a man.
exactly, because a boy is going to be thinking about me and my life, and I want, and I will, and I do.
Yeah.
But a man, hey, we're protectors and providers.
Yeah.
You've got to develop empathy, and you've got to develop like a backbone, because like no one's going to save you at a certain point in time. Not even dad can save you.
Yeah.
A certain point in time, you're the one that might have to save dad. And you know um there's a lot of responsibilities on everyone's shoulders. But yeah, going from a boy to a man, like going through that journey,
Yeah.
right? It's pressure and pain that makes diamonds,
Yeah.
right? And it's like you said, right? You go through some of these negative experiences. Well, it helps you develop something called empathy. And for me, and like that's how I experience art
All right.
art. I'm an empath, so I feel like I can really easily like fall into the artist and just imagine like what were they thinking when they made this piece.
Hmm.
Why did they do it like that? Like wow, like I would have never thought to do something like that. And it just, the more you think about it, the more you're like, okay, this is the human experience. So sometimes you see someone struggling, and it's important to know that, hey, even when someone's lashing out, it might not be about you at all. It might
Yeah.
be something they're going through.
Yeah.
And
I-
when,
I'm so like in sync with what you just said there because like when people ask me what's my greatest strength, I say it's empathy. And
yeah,
it's like why you just said, it's like if people lash out or something like that. So I've had people complain to me. It's like, oh, this person was a bitch today. This was this person today. Da, da, da. But I'm like, maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe they're going through something. Like that's always my response. So I think people hate telling me like gossip or tea because they're like, oh, he's just gonna be like, oh, they're having a bad day or something. I always try to like find a reason. Maybe there is no reason. Maybe they're just a bad person. But I always try to like look at like, hey, maybe they're going
There
through
are there
something.
are I have a hard time believing there are bad people. I
Mm,
think there are people that had some bad experiences, and we all deal with trauma in so many different ways.
yeah, I agree, but it's like I also think there are just genuinely evil people in this world where it's like they gone through something bad and they've held on to that and use that to justify
I agree.
the bad
Yeah,
they do.
yeah, they're making bad choices, and
Yeah.
they're embracing that. It's like I like to say, it's very easy to be bad. It's very easy to be negative. It's very easy to complain, but being positive, being good, it's not easy. It's work.
Oh, it is. Especially when something bad happens to you and you have to like push it to the side and just kind of brush it off and just keep going forward and still with positive attitude. Yeah, you can complain all day, you know. It's like I could complain about everything, you know.
Easy,
Yeah.
but the power of positivity will bring you to greater heights. I,
Yeah.
I, I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
And you brought up tea, so I'm gonna do a shout out to one of my best friends, Andrea.
Okay. Nice.
She goes by Andy Lowski. You can find her on Instagram if you're lucky. But it's one of those things where it's you grow and you learn things from like all sorts of people, and you have these like different perspectives,
Hmm.
and you get to share those things. And sometimes, hey, it's great to be like, hey, like this person was mean and stuff. And one of the things that we made an agreement with each other is there are people that are taking road rage to the next level. I don't
Yeah.
want to deal with that, and I don't like that negativity.
Yeah.
She didn't like that negativity, so we made a pact. Someone's gonna swear at us, whatever. We're gonna be like, okay, in the Western world, like the wave back is a good way to diffuse the situation. Sometimes people are gonna go like right up to your window, start jaw jacking you, saying all this
Yeah.
stuff. It's so easy to be defensive, but both of us like to use like a very similar line. It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Sometimes we'll skip that part and go to like what I really love to say, because some people get infuriated and some people take it to heart. But either way, there's no negativity on my karmic slate. I tell them, I hope you heal.
Mm,
Some people, they're not listening, so they're
yeah.
just gonna assume I said something bad. That's on them, not me.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, yo, someone wants to like say something horrible, and people get so angry, in traffic. It's like, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm not a malicious driver. But if you feel upset with me, I hope you heal, and I'm happy to apologize, because I just want you to have a good day. I
Mm,
want to have a good day. I'm just trying to get somewhere. You're trying to get somewhere. Nobody
yeah.
wants to be in traffic.
Yeah.
You know, Teleportation will be a great invention if we ever get it. But
Yeah.
for now, cars are amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I know what you mean. I've had been the victim of road rage, and I've also had the thing where it's like somebody just cuts me off, and I'm like, if I didn't notice you were gonna cut me off, we kind of got into an accident. I'm like, but at the same time, I just take a deep breath. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's how I diffuse any situation where I get a little riled up because I'm like, I'm human. I'm gonna get riled up sometimes, right?
of course, of
I'm not
course.
perfect, so it's like I'm never gonna be like always like just if something happens that's gonna supposed to agitate someone, I'm not gonna be perfect. I'm not gonna just like positivity, positivity. But it's like I'm always gonna have sometimes I'm gonna have like a agitated reaction, but I sometimes recognize that right away, and I just diffuse that by taking a deep breath.
Yeah, by taking a deep breath,
Yeah,
by
yeah.
thinking like, okay, this
It happened.
this this this
Nobody
per,
got
this this
harmed.
person's upset, but how much am I gonna let this affect my energy?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I mean, you can get angry too, and
yeah, yeah,
then he's gonna get angry, you're gonna get angry, and even when the situation's done, you'll be thinking about it for days. But the power of letting go is amazing, and the
yeah,
power of being like, okay, I'm upset in this moment, but take a deep breath. I'm gonna let it go.
yeah. It's recognizing it that you're upset. It's like you know, a lot of people recognize they're angry and they want to do something about it, and by them doing something about it, they're just like lashing out, they're breaking stuff, they're yelling and stuff like that. But recognizing it's just an emotion, you don't have to do anything about it. Just let it go.
Exactly.
People don't know how to let it go. That's the important part.
People know how to control their emotions.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? They don't know how to regulate their emotions, and they're just like little toddlers in big 1 2 ton machines.
Exactly, right? And that's why I like some of the more modern movements, like, yeah, Bill Canada has like the Let's Talk movement, and
Mm,
we actually talk about mental health and stuff, because controversial opinion, but I think everybody has a degree of mental health, right? Some people obviously different degrees and may need to be medicated or institutionalized, and other people, hey, like, we're fully functioning. But we all get sad sometimes.
Hmm.
We all get mad sometimes, but it's how we handle our emotions that becomes a reflection of us.
Hmm. Just double check and make sure everything's in focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand completely. It's I went through like the most like I was with somebody for like 7 years, from like 18 to
It's a
like,
long time.
yeah, well, from like 18 to 24, 23.
That's very formative years too. So
Yeah.
that's going to
So,
affect you your whole life.
oh yeah. And once that ended, it was kind of, I was in a place where it was like just darkness, man, just straight darkness. And the thing is, I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to ask for help. And so it took me a lot longer than it should have. But because of that, I think I became a man that I'm actually like proud to be. Because back then I think I was an asshole. I was just kind of just worried about myself. And then once it kind of that that relationship ending brought that to light of like my true actions as a person and like who I really am, then it was like, oh shit, like I don't like who I am. And then it took 3 to 4 months of deep work, like just Batman in the cave, just like in the darkness, just like
Hmm.
doing what he needs to do to climb out. And so that's what happened to me, where it's like I was going for 2 hour 3 hour walks every day, just reflecting and just kind of like figuring it all out, getting my health right, getting my mind right. And it's just like, yeah, it's just one of those things where if we had more conversation about mental health, I probably could have taken it a bit more differently, just been a more um, effective about it. It was kind of like a long-winded um, process for me, but I'm glad about who I came out at the other end.
Not everybody, internalizes and goes through that growth and takes the time to do what you did, though.
Yeah, so I think so. I was born in Montreal. We didn't touch on my story too much, but like I was born in Montreal. I moved here when I was like 13. And when I moved here, back in Montreal, I had a ton of friends, ton of community, ton of people and places where I felt like that belonged. When I came here, all that went away. No friends. I had some family, but it wasn't the type of family that you know. It wasn't the same vibe.
Of course not.
Yeah,
You're talking about childhood connections versus you're a teenager.
yeah,
You're already developing
yeah,
a sense of self, a sense of rebellion.
yeah.
So,
And that's so. When I was in Montreal, like I was like deep into art. Drawing every day, drawing characters, drawing stories and stuff like that. When I came here, I was trying to like fit in, trying to find my crowd, my crew, whatever. And so when I moved here, it was just not a lot of space for me to like create. And
mhm.
so I kind of like laid the pencil down for a few years actually. And it was kind of like I was just trying to figure out who I was again and like trying to find my friends. Got into the wrong crowd a little bit, like in junior high, high school. Got into some trouble and stuff like that. And it was funny because like after high school and then in going to college, there was an incident where like I got jumped by people who I thought were my friends, and so that made me realize like, oh, I'm in the wrong place right now.
Hmm.
And so I took a step back from like the people I was hanging out with, and then kind of like self-reflected a little bit. By the time I was smoking a ton of weed. And so I was, because of that, I credit weed for how I think today, because it made me think more internally. And without those thoughts, I don't think I would have become the person I am, because like, I don't know, it made me more reflective as a person.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I feel like my experiences with cannabis use, not only for pain reduction, but also for growth, also for understanding of myself, of
Yeah.
others. Like it's a very special plant, and
Yeah.
we're blessed to be in one of the few countries where not only is it medically legalized, but it's actually recreationally legalized. And
Yeah.
that's sometimes as much as I want to complain about winter, it's like, hey, we've got some gifts that other countries don't have.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. It is a very powerful plant.
Hmm.
And if you look at some statistics of all the creatures that we share Mother Earth with, humans have the most cannabinoid receptors,
Mm.
followed by whales/dolphins, dogs, cats, horses, and pigs. a lot of creatures that interact a lot with humans. So
Hmm.
why do we have cannabinoid receptors and then are told like not to use this plant? I think sometimes to the stories of Jesus in the burning bush, or in the Bible there is like some herbs that are inhaled by like Muhammad, and it's like, to me
Yeah, what do you think
to
that
me
is?
I think it's cannabis.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I think it's just to keep us kind of focused on the reality of the grind of the daily. It's like they don't want us to think like
No,
that.
because you gotta have a mortgage you can't afford
Yeah,
and buy things that you don't need.
yeah.
And yeah, that's how the countries and NGOs and corporations and stuff, that's how they make the world go round. But I'm really excited. Like, as a millennial, I'm really excited for the generation just below me, Generation Z. And I mean, they have a lot of the great qualities that I believe millennials have, but they've got the population and they've got the determination to make real changes. So I'm really excited to.
You're not worried about them being the social media kids?
No,
No?
no, I think as many negatives as social media, I mean, realistically, what we're doing right now is going to be shared with social media. There's, when you have a new thing, right, a new invention, a new technology, like there's going to be pros and cons, right? Like a lot of people discuss the cons of social media, the potential for bullying, the absorption, the desire for likes and online friends, and a lot of lack of that authenticity. But there are people that use social media to express their authenticity. You're an artist. I am getting back into my art
Nice.
through music, through writing poetry again, which, will be, again, transformed into music down the line. I'm doing stuff like this. I have plans to go back and pursue my original love, acting. And all of those things can only be made possible when you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And I've just been through too much to like not believe in myself anymore, because it's cliche, but YOLO's real. You only live once. And if you do get reincarnated, you won't remember that you had this life. Maybe your soul will. I do believe our souls are immortal, but in this life, if I do the things that I want to do, or try to do the things that I want to do, I'm gonna get different experiences than if I watch TV and I'm like, I could do that, but you
I don't
know,
want to.
yeah, I
Yeah,
could do that,
yeah.
but
So that's how I live. It's like I don't want to have regrets on my deathbed. I might have regrets of like how I did things in the past, but it's like one of those things like it's in the past. If you have regrets or not, just it's in the past. You can't change
and
it.
those regrets won't be the same level, right? A
Yeah,
life well lived, we're all gonna have some regrets. I could have done this differently. I could have treated that person better.
yeah,
I made this mistake, but you know, the person you're gonna end up being versus the person, like we all started as little crying babies and needed someone to literally take care of us to make sure that we didn't die.
yeah.
And then we get to a certain point where, we got to make sure that our mental health is good, our physical health is good, and then our bills are paid. And then after that, it's like, well, what do I want to do? I have a lot of respect for people that, they're going to have a job, they're going to work 9 to 5, they're going to protect and provide for their family. Some people, like, cook big meals for their family. Some people, like, there's so many ways to contribute, but
Hmm.
not everybody chases their dreams, and not
Yeah,
everybody allows themselves to chase their dreams. Because here's the thing, um, what like I don't know what you want out of your art, but for me and my art, it's it's for me, and the desire to share is because I love humanity and I want to maybe help someone. Maybe my art will only speak to one person and no one else will get it. Well, that's fine
mm,
because I got it out.
yeah,
And then for other people, if you're chasing art because you want fame and fortune, all the power to you. And I mean, fortune does help in this life, and that's one of the negatives of social media, is that like enhanced desire for fame. But when you achieve fame, some people do great things with their platform, right? I've mentioned her before, but like Selena Gomez has like a mental health fund that's doing a lot of good. And, like there's different ways to make an impact because you can use your platform to speak about things that matter to you,
Hmm.
right? So for me, I want people to get their blood tested on a regular basis. I want them to like, be healthy and like, life's hard enough. Like
Yeah.
just make sure your body's on point because it's one less thing to worry about.
Mm.
And other people have other lessons, and I'm excited to learn more lessons that are going to help me level up because
Yeah.
my goal right now at this point in time in my life is I want to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
And we've got Broly right here. But we discussed this off air, but both grew up watching Dragon Ball
Yeah.
and Goku. That's probably a hero to a lot of people. Goku would constantly be breaking and testing his limits,
Hmm.
and I look at that less about sports and now more metaphorically because, yeah, what are my limits? Like, is this all I can do? But I want to do this. If you want to do something, that's an indication from your very soul. Go chase it.
Yeah. And a lot
It
of
might not
people,
be for you.
yeah, and a lot of people they want to do something, but they psych themselves out of trying it.
Yes, yes. It's like, yeah, you want to do
They don't
something,
try it.
but yeah,
They just don't
some
try
people
it.
talk about it, some
Yeah.
people be about it.
Yeah. So I've had people talking about doing something for 2 years and they still haven't taken the first step. You know.
Yep.
But
And I'm guilty of being that
I've
person
had
sometimes
somebody
too.
same with me. But I've had somebody talk about something yesterday and they did it today. You know.
And like and look at your smile, right? I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I love when you can share a piece of advice with someone, they actually listen, and then they enact it, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Not only do you have more respect for them, you're like, wow, like you listen to my advice. Like that's special. That's a connection.
Yeah.
And it builds a deeper bond, right? And
It
that's
also shows their character.
it
It's like,
does.
it's like, are they the person that's gonna go out and get what they want if they get the device they need? It's like, or is somebody, I've explained for let's just say a podcast situation, I've explained to somebody how to set up the YouTube channel, how to get the podcast set up, how to get your audio right, how to post it, how to get on Spotify. I've explained step by step to somebody exactly how to do it, and they've never done anything with it. But then they tell me it's like, oh, I want to start that podcast. I
Yeah.
look at them, I was like, this was like kind of like, it's like, oh, like I don't even know how to look at them anymore. When they talk about that, like they're still good friends, but like it's just like whenever they bring that up, I just like blank. I just turn off my brain. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
because
listening. I'm not listening to you anymore.
you've already you've like I've given you all the tools in
Yeah,
my tool shed,
yeah,
right? Because not everybody does that, right? Like I have a lot of respect for that. 'Cause some
yeah,
people are going to gatekeep information,
yeah. No,
and
I
this is
think
the information era, and AI is still a new thing at the time of this recording.
yeah,
It's only 2024. I'm really excited to see what other people do with AI, what, interactions I'll be making with AI in the future, how that'll affect my art as someone that does poetry, as someone that wants to do music. I
mm,
feel like, like I've seen this program where I can input my poem and maybe a few prompts, and AI will spit out like some art,
yeah,
right? And it's like, okay,
yeah,
that's really interesting. And
yeah,
then if it's not what you want, you can put in more prompts and kind of get an idea of what you want. And for some people, hey, like it's an advantage.
mm,
And it's all about how you use it, right? We talked earlier, there's advantage and disadvantage of social media. There's going to be advantages, disadvantages of AI that we haven't even anticipated yet,
yeah,
right? But every new tool, right? Like, I mean, at one point in time, we didn't have a pen.
yeah,
And yeah, like the pen has brought us many good things. The pen has brought us some bad things too. Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, started with a pen and paper,
mm,
and led to like a global movement that we look back to as World War II. So
yeah,
everything's got a pro and a con, and that's humans. We are adversarial creatures. We are the most beautiful and the most savage creatures on this earth.
mm,
We are
yeah,
equal parts tiger as we are bunny.
yeah. And I think you know, there's a lot of destruction that humans create, but there's a lot of creation that they create.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for me, like I think destruction and creation go hand in hand, but also there's extremes to it. Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. You said something before about your art, where it's you kind of just do it for yourself, and you just like nobody cares about it. It is what it is, right? Like you just kind of
You know, I don't I don't necessarily care at this point in my life like the spread. So I haven't put like advertising dollars. I haven't like, like made the full commitment at this point in time. But I'm at the beginning of doing so. I'm
Okay.
learning things. Like
Okay.
you just shared that, you walked a friend through how to start a podcast. Well, a new friend has kind of shared some information about, where to get beats from and stuff. So it's like, okay, is this poetry? Is this music?
Mm.
Is
It's
it a
fine line. It's a
song?
fine line.
Is it rap?
Yeah, yeah.
I've done 13 years of choir. Can I rap? I want to find out.
Okay. Yeah,
I
just
want to find out.
testing your limit,
I,
right?
I want to test my limit, and I
Yeah.
want to see what's fun.
Yeah, I made beats in the past too,
Yeah.
and it was like it was fun, but I realized like I don't really care about the beats as much. I would love to like if I can get to it in my life, like do DJing a little bit. So I kind of like just mix current songs and kind of just like have fun with those. But if I don't get to it, it's okay. Like it's not one of those things that are like when you have those things where like I have to do this no matter what, compared to like if I get around to it, sure, I'll try it. Like I would love to try snowboarding, but it's like if I don't do it, I don't really care.
Yeah. It's as they say, it's for shits and giggles,
Yeah, yeah,
but it might be something that becomes a passion.
yeah.
I
So
feel the same way about acting. Like it's something I want to pursue, and it's a deep passion of mine.
yeah,
Um, I'd be very pleased and very happy if it worked out and I got to you know be an animated character and sing some lullabies to the future youth that'll one day like change this world in the positive for us. Or I'd love to be on screen as a hero or a villain and just have fun with it.
hmm
But is it my driving force? No. And I mean, there's so many different ways to connect with people. I've told you that maybe I want to start a podcast. I do want to be able to share stories and advice and anything I can because, you connect with the right person or persons, you can make an impact and change. I love helping people.
yeah,
As we discussed, like we're both empaths and, being men and admitting you're an empath. I mean, that alone I think takes a lot of guts in today's climate.
yeah.
So, wanting to help people and being a positive male role model in a world where, in the Western world anyway, I believe divorce rates currently at 70%
For like Canada, US.
for Canada, US. Yeah. So
Really, I thought it was closer to 50. No.
I believe 70, but
Yeah, I think it's
the viewers at home, like whatever year you watch this, look it up, and it's
Yeah,
probably a shockingly high number either way.
yeah, but I think Portugal and Spain is like 90%.
Wow.
Yeah,
So here's the
and then
pro and the
India's like
here's the
two
pro and the
percent.
con to that, right? People are getting divorced because they're valuing their happiness above staying with someone that makes them miserable.
hmm
But the con is the effects that has on the children,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Which is like my parents went through troubles in their marriage and stuff like that.
mine too.
So, but they got to a point where it's like, it's good. It's good now. And
Yes,
so it's
mine too.
like, when do you get to the point where it's like, do you just give up or do you try to work through it? I don't think there's a right answer for any situation. I think it's like you just, there's no overall right answer, but I think in your certain situations you got to figure out for yourself.
And
Um,
that's seeing, and like I'm glad you said that because that's a lesson that I'm still trying to learn. So my motto, getting through all of my health battles and stuff, it was hashtag never give up, and that will always mean a lot to me
okay.
because there were a lot of times like suicide rates pretty high on dialysis,
hmm
and what I was going through, I lost like my faith for quite a while, which my spirituality was given back to me when on one of these Australia trips when I was in the Daintree rainforest in a waterfall, and I started to be like, I'm so blessed to be here.
Mm,
And I was so resistant to saying anything like the word blessed or God or anything because I was so upset. But I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be bitter. I want to be a force of like love, not hate. I want to be someone that's more positive than negative. We're always going to suffer from that duality of what it means to be human, but there's also choices we can make. So I've used never give up as this, if you never give up and you're tenacious, you're going to get everything you want. But
hmm
and that's great for an individual. When you're by yourself or you're doing things for yourself, I think never give up is great. But sometimes what I'm learning is you give up on things that no longer serve you. Be that you're not in a relationship that's right for you. Be that, hey, I'm pursuing drawing, but I will go further and be more emotionally like rewarded if I'm acting,
Mm,
right? Or
yeah.
whatever those art forms or whatever those things are. Like some people might be, there might be a mailman out there, but their passion is to be a chef. Well, life is
Yeah.
short. Follow your passion.
Yeah.
And if you don't make it, you might learn a new passion along the way, but then you're doing the journey of life. Because I look at life now very differently than I did when I was younger. Life
Of
isn't
course. Yeah.
this thing where, it's like, okay, I'm going to go to university. I'm going to get this degree. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to do these investments. And then when you're actually living through your life, it's like, well, what do I actually want to do? Like, who am I?
Yeah.
What do I like? And how can I do the things that I like while also being able to like provide for myself, number one, and then hopefully, be able to provide for my family and one day acquiring like, I really want to be a father. Talked about this a little off air as well.
Yeah.
I want to be a father one day. I want to have a wife. I, want to be ride or die, and for her to be ride or die, and our children be a literal product of love. And I want to give them everything that my parents gave me, some things that my parents were unable to give me, and hopefully my parents are around to be the grandparents to make up for some of my shortcomings and maybe be a little easier on the kids, because it's funny, like even the strictest parents become like the nicest grandparents and kind of spoil the kids,
Right.
and it's a weird
It's just still a
balance.
baby, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
um, I agree with what you're saying, but for me, I've had I've had life punch me in the face too many times,
Hmm.
or just like shock up my plans that I've had, and so for me, it's like those things would be nice, but I don't put a lot of weight and stuff like that because I'm like, you never know,
I agree, these are
something
the
could
things
happen.
I want,
Yeah,
and at a certain point in time in my life I thought that's how life goes.
yeah,
And now I'm experiencing things where it's like, okay, I'm not going to give up on myself, and never give up applies to that, but sometimes it's okay to give up on things that no longer serve you.
mm,
Sometimes it's okay to be like, well, hey, this isn't the right direction for me, but I am still able to like do a redirection and find something else. We always are able to pivot and find something that
being adaptable.
works. Being adaptable. And
Yeah,
what's more adaptable than being human, right?
yeah,
So when you're like, there's a big difference. Like you can never give up and make that negative. You get your head stuck in the mud. Start to get stubborn. You start to like, it's like I'm an entrepreneur, right? So business wise, I'm gonna take some risks, and they're not always gonna pay off. But if I didn't take those risks, I'll be thinking about it the rest of my life.
yeah, yeah.
I don't want those thoughts. I would rather be like, you know what? I risked it for the biscuit. I didn't get the biscuit, but I'm glad I
You got a
went on
little
the
bit of
journey.
crumbs and you like how it tastes, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, you know what? Like
Yeah.
I would roll the dice again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, a lot of people think, they just see their success story, but they don't see the 10 failures that led to that success story, you
Exactly,
know?
right? Like nobody thinks of the trials and tribulations. Someone sees a guy driving a Ferrari, they don't think like, okay, like a lot of people like, oh, well, like
Yeah, you
he
don't realize
he
he was
that's
you
yeah,
don't
that's
realize he was 50K in debt running his business, trying to like just make payroll and shit like that. You don't figure that out, you know?
yeah. Sometimes like skipping out on buying things for himself to make sure that like his people are taken care of.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and yeah, some people are blessed, and they do get opportunities that some of us might not get in this lifetime, but what's the point of being jealous? Like
yeah,
go get what you want, and if you can't get exactly what you want, find other ways to make yourself happy. There's so many ways to be happy, and the first step is just being positive about things, and
yeah.
it
But I
changes
think
everything.
I think a lot of people expectations on how life should go, and when life doesn't meet up their standards, then that's what causes unhappiness. And so I've learned just like, you know, just do things and whatever happens, happens.
Yes,
Even if it's something good, even if it's something bad, even if it's something that is like completely opposite of what you expected to happen, and just deal with whatever comes. Try to do your best and then keep moving forward.
I agree. Let
Yeah.
go of expectations
Yeah.
and go on the journeys that the universe sends you on.
Hmm.
Some of the most negative things have, looking back now, they're blessings. Like
Yeah.
going through this health scare and stuff, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have the courage to, be as open as I am. I wouldn't have the desire to do the things that some people are going to say are crazy. It's like, what do you? you've never done music. Like you just did some choir, and that's so long ago, and it has nothing to do with what you're going to do
When you
now.
face
But
death in the face, you realize life is short, and
exactly,
now you're just like, I don't have that much time as I thought I did.
yeah, I'd rather have fun than be miserable
Yeah.
when it comes down to it. Like, so like what's going to be fun? And sometimes for me, and it's different for everyone, but for me, sometimes fun is just new experiences. If I fall flat on my face, it's
Mhm.
okay. I'll laugh it off and I'll try something
Yeah.
else because I don't I don't want to be that person that's like I could have, I should have, I would have, excuses, excuses,
Yeah.
excuses. Let me try things. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be able to try everything I want to try,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But you'll find something you love along the way, you know?
exactly. And
And
there's
that
so many
I
journeys
was
that we can
talking to
go on.
somebody yesterday, and he's like, I don't work with anybody like on my team unless they love what they do. If they don't love what they do, I don't even consider them part of my team. Like there's just I just pass them over. And it's like that's just when you love something you do, you try to be good at it. You try to find the little things that make you just 1% better. When you're just doing it for a paycheck or a salary, you're just gonna do what you need to get done, and then when it's off hours, you don't think about it again until you have to come back on the clock. And it's like you don't try to improve, you just do enough to pass by. And it's like we don't want to live life just passing by. We want to find the stuff we love, the one stuff that gets us up in the morning, the stuff that we obsess over, because then it creates purpose. And it's like you know you can you can just love being a parent. It's like you just want to be the best parent
Yeah,
ever.
yeah,
And it's like, that's cool. And then you figure out, like, oh, this kind of teaching technique or this kind of sleep routine was best. Or it's like, if I make this kind of meal for my kids, they're going to be this, healthy this way. And then you start figuring out health. And all of a sudden you like health. And it's like, so stuff like that. It's just like when you start pursuing stuff that you actually care about and love, then you just find, you find yourself in the flow state. Things just work out
yes,
well,
the flow state,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember this really impactful flow state. This one time especially, I was just in the flow state like crazy. This is the deepest I was ever in the flow state. I was what it felt like 30 minutes of drawing or painting. It was painting. What felt like 30, 45 minutes ended up being 6 hours.
wow.
Yeah.
And isn't that the best feeling? I was like, that was 6 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, I've never been in that state like that, like to that depth before. Like I've been in flow states where it's like, an hour has gone by and like I feel like an hour's gone by and it's been like 2.5 hours. I'm like, okay, but like that extreme, I'm like, whoa, that was just really intense. And I've been chasing that feeling. Which if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I don't put any expectations on it, but it's just like that feeling was so amazing that I
Hmm.
just keep chasing that. And it's like, so I want to say, like, with my art, it's like the reason why I got into art is because I was watching like cartoons growing up, and like I love the characters, I love the stories, like Dragon Ball, Pokemon, Digimon.
Yep.
I was really into like anime at a young age, and so those characters really spoke to me, and so I started drawing the characters, started just making my own characters that would fit in their world and stuff like that. And so like I remember the feeling that those like shows, and even then I started reading books and getting to like mangas or like novels and stuff like that, and just like the how those things would make me feel. And so the purpose of my art is to make somebody else feel the way I felt. Which I don't know if it's a feeling that or a purpose that may come back to bite me in the butt, because obviously I'm putting it on somebody else feeling that way. But it's like I'm just putting it out in the world and hopefully somebody feels that same way about it. You know?
I don't see how it would bite you in the butt, right?
Yeah.
That's creation, and you're putting your creations out there because I've met some very talented people, and they don't share their gifts with the world. And some people like being private like that, and I have
Yeah.
all the respect in the world for them. But I feel like when you share that and you share that beauty, like like you were inspired, and now you're Johan the artist,
Mhm.
and you might inspire someone else, and down the line they might be something prolific, and we might have some like stuff for the future generations to consume. Like obviously being around the same age, I consumed a lot of the same media and some of the same influences, and anime was impactful, and there's some beautiful stories in there. And with animation, the thing that I love about animation to this day, lets my imagination go. There's no budget constraints. There's
Mhm.
nothing. It's just based on like imagination.
Yeah.
And I think sharing your imagination with others in the hopes that they'll appreciate it it stokes the flame of their imagination. So just putting it out there, letting what's in here go out to the universe, you're actually giving all of us a gift. Whether we get to see that art or not, sharing is a gift. It doesn't come naturally to humans.
Hmm.
I don't believe sharing does come naturally to humans, right? That's a thing for families. But these modern generations, in this freedom of information, as we share more and more, the advancements are crazy post World War II.
Yeah, because I think sharing is vulnerability,
Yes,
and people don't want to be
sharing
vulnerable.
is caring.
Yeah,
Yeah, people don't want to be vulnerable, but there's a lot of strength in vulnerability,
there is. Yeah,
and all art
it's
comes
it's
from
like that. It's
vulnerability.
like the 8 Mile. You ever see that ending rap scene
Yeah,
where it's like, yeah, it's like I might be broke, I might live in a trailer. You know, it's like he's just saying like everything that's worse about him. But then
yeah,
it's
all
like
the
you got
critiques of him. Yeah,
you can't attack anything anymore.
yeah.
He doesn't care.
Like, so what?
Yeah.
So what? What? Okay.
So what?
So
So what? I'm broke.
so yeah, I've listed all the things that you're trying to tear me down with. I accept them, and I don't care.
Yeah.
So now what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's very powerful when you accept your vulnerability. I still have a lot more room to grow in that aspect because there's a lot of things that I don't want people to like know because I don't know. I hold it very close to the vest and it's like I'm scared. Blatantly. I'm just scared of people knowing certain things about me. Not because it's bad or good or whatever, but it's like it's just speaking about it and verbalizing it. It's like
Hmm.
one of those things where it's like it makes it real, more real, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And you know what? Sometimes we do these things, and you try to be so open, and you kind of judge yourself for not being open enough in some situations. But it's important to have boundaries. Another thing that I'm working on, like personally, is yeah, sometimes being too open means you're overexposed to the wrong people.
Yeah,
So sometimes I feel like it's really important to be like, okay, like if my brain and my soul is telling me like not to share this, it's not maybe the right person to share it with.
yeah. I think that's what it is because I've my father's been taking advantage of his kindness a lot
Hmm.
by people in
So you don't
business.
want to go through that too.
Yeah. So it's like I rather just keep all my shit personal and just share with the people that are super close to me
Hmm.
that I'm dealing with stuff. But then yeah, public, I'm just like,
Guess what?
keep it very
Maybe that's a life lesson that your dad, by not learning, got to teach you.
yeah,
So
but
maybe
I'll
that's a gift. Maybe
yeah,
you're being too hard on yourself. I
maybe
don't know, and you
maybe
don't know,
yeah, I
and
don't
that's
know.
the beauty of
And it's like you talk to me in
life.
like a year, I'll probably have a different view on it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I don't want either of us to be stagnant.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Well, what do you resonate more with, the hero role or the anti-hero role? Like the hero role was like advocating for love, peace, vibrance, or like the anti-hero where it's like kill your demons, like that where it's like go after the negative, like kill the negative, so that it's still like it's ultimately
I
being the same thing, but you're attacking two different
Yeah, two
problems.
different ways. I love
Yeah.
the way you put that too. Hey, anti-heroes are exciting. I mean, I've got Spawn behind me. I showed you I've got a decent Deadpool collection, but I resonate more with the hero.
Hmm.
You know, love Batman, but the original Robin that becomes Nightwing, like that's my role model. That's how I want to be, because Bruce Batman, he's always got that trauma that motivates him to be Batman. Dick Grayson has a very similar situation where both of their parents died in front of them.
Hmm.
But Dick Grayson is more well adjusted. He's the big brother of the Bat family. He's seen in the DC universe as like this optimist, where Batman is known as a pessimist. So yeah, like that's what I'm gonna do.
Hmm.
Because we spoke about animes. There's an anime, maybe you've seen it, My Hero Academia,
Yeah,
right?
I'm caught up.
You know, All Might with the smiles, right? And the reason he smiled, it's so beautiful. It's he's not smiling in the face of danger or anything to be cocky. He's smiling because
It gives
for the
them a hope.
person he's saving, that might be the worst situation they're in. And if they see a smile,
Yeah.
they're going to
Gives
be like, this isn't so bad. He's smiling,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And then, and we get to see and almost be Deku, right? And go through his heroic journey. And I'm like, yeah, like I love all my friends and I will fight for them.
Mhm.
I will self-sacrifice. And that's who I am. I am never give up, whether I like it or not.
Yeah,
And there come negatives to that, right? Like Deku would literally hurt his own body to save another.
yeah.
Other people, know when to quit, but that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's my journey. So yeah, I want to be a positive role model. I know that darkness is easy, and I respect and really enjoy anti-hero characters.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, like a lot of people are like, oh, Superman's lame, but I mean, that's a god that wishes he was mortal, and I think that story is beautiful. And if
Mm,
I ever were to write a story with someone else's creations, I think I could write a Superman story that people would enjoy.
nice.
It'd probably be Dragon Ball-esque, but I like that. I like that a lot, you know. Batman is definitely, you know, the more exciting character than Superman in so many ways.
It's just more complex, you know?
Right. But
Yeah.
then when you go into the Batman universe and you see characters like Nightwing that have gone through all those same traumas, but
Yeah.
they can still smile and they can still care for others and have like a different level of empathy. I mean, it's in a lot of comics. Like Batman's hero, Batman's greatest joy. It's his son. It's his adopted son. It's Dick Grayson, Nightwing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I resonate. I'm gonna ask you the same question though.
Okay, nice.
Anti-hero, hero,
I'm more the anti-hero for sure. You know, characters like this my hero is like Bakugo
love Bakugo. How
or
can you
like
not?
yeah. Or Batman or like from Naruto like Sasuke,
Yep.
Vegeta, stuff.
Vegeta.
So it's like I resonate with that a lot more. Like I agree with, you know, a positive outlook of things, but I've been in the depths of darkness, and so I'm always like kill the demons that are there at the bottom, and then the only way back, you know, the only way to go is up,
Right.
because I'm like,
And
yeah,
that's the way I dealt with my demons too.
yeah,
The only way is to, you know, but that's my truth and that's
yeah,
your truth,
yeah,
and we handle them differently,
100%,
but there's beauty in both, right? I mean,
yeah,
like look at all those characters you named, all of the heroic version, like with Vegeta, there's Goku,
yeah.
right? They're very much mirrors of each other in so many ways.
Like that, the outcome is the same. They want the same outcome. They just go about it two different ways.
There's different approaches,
Yeah,
right? One kills the demons, the other, you know, chases like hope,
yeah,
and they're both ultimately the same thing. It's just
yeah,
different because that's the great thing about life. There's so many different roads. And yeah, and if you look at all of those heroic, it's usually the more heroic characters, they find a lot of inspiration in those anti-heroes. You
yeah,
mentioned Bakugo.
yeah,
You can't have Deku without Bakugo,
yeah.
right? Like,
Exactly.
and Bakugo goes through some growth as well
Yeah,
by, you know,
because he's
finally accepting Deku and,
yeah, and
you
then when he
know, and
screams for like help and stuff like that, it's like, you know, he's like envious of him because of how easy everything came. You know, it's like, oh, he didn't have the quirk, now he has a quirk, and then it's
even when
like,
he didn't have the quirk, he
yeah,
still was willing to
fight and
scream at
scratch. Yeah,
that weird creature that was
yeah,
trying to absorb Bakugo. Even when they were like children, he's trying to help Bakugo up after he fell in a
yeah,
stream.
yeah,
It's different approaches, but I feel like for me, that's who I am, and
hmm,
it's one of those things where I would love to be the anti-hero.
yeah,
I spent a lot of my life for like trying to be the bad boy that I just never could be because it's so attractive, especially
hmm,
when you are someone that's naturally like you know, gravitating towards the hero role. It's like, of course I'm gonna like these other characters. Like, why can't I be more like them?
hmm,
But then from their perspective, it's like, well, why can't they be more like us?
hmm,
You know, Drake's got an older song about how athletes want to be rappers and rappers want to be athletes, and it's you're always gonna look at the other side and be like, well, that's pretty cool, but
yeah,
you know, you can't have one without the other.
yeah. Comparison is the thief of joy. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know, but mutual appreciation, it's like, hey, like I like that you're different from me because I can learn something from you,
yeah.
you
I think
know?
you need both as well. You know,
Absolutely.
it's like the thing is like you need both those hero figures, the hero and the anti-hero, because it's like the you know, people are going to look up to you, and then it's like they might resonate with one more than the other, and it's like then it's like you have those both in place in case somebody needs it, in case somebody needs, you know, that sort of like figure, that role
Hmm.
model. It's like this guy's going through what I'm going through, you know.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly, right? Someone to inspire. And sometimes I feel like as someone that resonates with the heroes, the big weakness to many heroes is sometimes they can't do what's necessary,
yeah,
right? Whereas the anti-hero is like, no, like I've got to kill the demons. I've got to like take this like evil figure off the map. Whereas the hero might try and save that evil figure. That's a criticism a lot of my hero fans have, that Deku is trying to save Shigaraki after everything.
Yeah, I think he's gonna still try. Yeah, for sure. Because
Man,
even
yeah,
I think he's still gonna try though.
of course,
Yeah, yeah.
of course. That's
That's just who he
that's
is.
Deku.
That's
That's
Deku. Yeah,
All Might.
yeah,
That's that journey. That's Nightwing,
yeah.
right? And there's going to be other figures like, it's like Batman, Bakugo. Like, we've got to put this guy down. Sometimes you need the anti-heroes because sometimes the heroes and anti-heroes won't agree, but different methods, different like results, same goal.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Um, yeah, for me, it's like I think why I resonate with the anti-hero more is because, like I told you, my father, he's like the kindest person you can ever meet. Always puts others above himself. It's but that's led to him being taken advantage of, and
Hmm.
I've seen the outlash and the outcome of him being taken advantage of. So that's why like I feel like I have to be harder and
Yes,
more shelled off, and that's why I feel like I resonate with more with the anti-heroes.
right.
So it's
And
like just because from
that's,
personal experience.
I feel like in my life I've experienced similar things to what you're describing with your dad. Like, I've had some situations where, yeah, I've been taken advantage of, and when I've reflected in those, I've been like, well, I could change, but if I let these situations change me, who am I?
Mm,
So I got to double down and be like, you know what? I would rather be taken advantage of and go through that growth cycle than go the other way.
mm.
But maybe if I get blessed with a child, they'll take your perspective because you're learning not to make the mistakes that your father made.
Yeah.
And my dad maybe would resonate more with the anti-hero. I don't know.
Hmm.
He's not really into superheroes, so
Yeah.
it's different. But my dad's got a big heart, but he does what needs to get done. I have a big heart too, but sometimes I don't do the things that need to be done because I'm too busy helping someone else get their things done. So I'm learning that lesson, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a reason why heroes almost always look at their anti-hero counterparts with admiration and respect.
Mm,
And it goes both ways, even if the anti-heroes don't vocalize it. They're, like, just the way you're speaking about your dad, just because you don't want to be like your dad doesn't mean you don't respect it. You just
hmm.
don't like some of the outcomes he faced.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like because I know the struggles that he faced to get here, so it's like I respect all that. Obviously, he's my father. He raised me. Uh, but yeah, just seeing everything that happened to him, it's like I don't want to be that. I don't want that same thing to happen to me and my kid having to deal with the
Hmm.
outcome of what of that happening to me. So that's why I feel like I need to be a little harder because I'm like I tell him this now. But I'm like, I wish you were a little harder on me. I wish you made things a little bit more difficult. I wish you because he was the kind of parent that would like, oh, you have a problem, let me take care of it. Because he doesn't want me to have problems. I'm like, no, that's the wrong way to go about
Hmm.
it. That's why I'm like, there's certain things like he's learning for things for the first time too, which like if when I have a kid, I want them to like I want to create manageable problems for them as they go up in life.
I like that. I
So
like that perspective, and I'm gonna do my best to remember that. Should that blessing come true and I have children,
yeah,
yeah, because I feel like that is, and for some people they don't like that. Like, some people don't. Some people want to be listened to. They don't want you to solve their problems, and that's
yeah,
something that, like, I'm still learning.
yeah,
Right? Like, got a problem. Like, how can I fix it? I don't want you to hurt. Like, that's
yeah.
the inner hero. But sometimes, like, when I take away that hurt from you, I'm not letting you
Deal
go
with
through,
it.
like, the struggles that are going to make you you.
Yeah.
So, it's a fine line.
That's so funny because like I've been in that situation where I try to fix people problems, but now I just like I listen and I ask the right questions, and that's it. I let them figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like because I'm like I didn't like maybe they're asking for help. If they don't directly ask for help, I don't give them the help.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like that's a lesson they need to learn is to ask for help. You know, if they just kind of like spew their problems and then they get help for it and then something else and it's like then they'll spew the problems again and then it's like it becomes a cycle of I don't know the right term for it, but a cycle of like um where you're just like saying your problems, getting the comfort for it, feeling good, saying your problems, getting comfort for it, feeling good. Like what do you
I totally resonate. It
yeah
reminds me of a very cliche quote. but it's apt here. It's give a man a fish, he eats for a day.
Mm.
Teach a man a fish,
Yeah.
he'll eat for life.
Yeah. And so it's like when people say it's like, oh, I'm dealing with this thing, this thing, or like this person this way. It's like, okay, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah,
And it's like if they say nothing, I'm like, okay, cool, then don't talk about it
exactly. Yeah.
again.
And that's, and again, like sometimes you need people like that, because sometimes the best person to fix your problems is you.
Yeah.
And then there are other times where people need help, they ask for help, and not everybody answers the call. But
Yeah.
when someone asks for help, because some situations are above us. We
Yeah.
are we are humans. We are the alpha apex like predator, but we are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. The only thing we are as humans
Smartest.
is we're the smartest, and we're good at being a collective,
Yeah.
right? Because
Community
there's
for
a
sure.
lot of people I've met in my life that are a lot smarter than me. There's a lot of people that consider me smart,
Yeah.
and it takes all of us to do what we do. I can't build a car, but I know how to raise enough capital to buy a car because I have one.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. No, that makes sense. I think that's like, yeah, it's the collective is so fucking amazing. It's like, all these experiences that we have, all these things that we own, all the things that we do. It's like I want to do them with people. I don't want to do
Hmm.
everything by myself because I'm like, this is lonely. I want to share it. I get the joy in sharing enjoyment. Like if I get something cool, I want to tell people. I want to share with people. I want to do
Yeah,
something cool.
yeah,
It's like, oh, if I have this opportunity to do something, let's just say, let's just say, I don't know, somebody said like, hey, here's a cabin, for the weekend, just have fun with it. And it's like, I don't want to do it by myself. I want people to come
yeah.
enjoy with
And there's
me.
going to be other people that the most fun thing that they could do is take that cabin and have solace to themselves.
Yeah,
But I'm very much like you. I love group activities,
yeah,
right? Even when I've been in relationships, it's like, like let's double date. Let's like grab some of our single friends and all just have a big group hang. It's
yeah,
fun. It's fun to share like the good times. And I think a lesson that I am learning, like the big difference between a friend and an acquaintance is acquaintances and friends will both be there for the good times. But when the times are dark, when it's raining, acquaintances aren't going to show up for you. But your
yeah,
friends, your real friends, the real meaning of friends, those are the people that are going to be like, what's wrong? Can I help? Can I listen?
hmm,
And sometimes, even just being listened to, like being validated when you're hurting, it means the world.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's like one of those things where if you don't message first, there's no messages happening.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Sometimes you got to be the one that messages first. And when
and
you don't
but
get a
it's
message
but it's
back, it
all if it's
hurts.
always that way, if you're always the one messaging you first, then it's like if you just stop messaging, there's no messages at all.
Hmm.
Which some people are the people kind of people where it's like, you know, they wanna be messaged to hang out because sometimes they
They
just
have their
closed
off,
off or
yeah,
stuff
or
like that.
insecurities
But
or
if
all
you like,
sorts of things.
yeah, but if they don't hear from you for like a week or two, like, are they worried? Are they gonna reach out? It's like, hey, is everything okay? Or they're just gonna be like, whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
And all the power to the people that can say, whatever, that'll never be me.
Yeah, no, me
I
neither.
I I have a hard time being in conflict with people I love,
Yeah,
but sometimes things are going on that they might have lashed out at me, but it's nothing to do with me.
yeah,
And I'm very guilty of internalizing it and being like, what can I do to fix things? And sometimes you
yeah.
can't.
People pleaser.
Yeah,
That's what it
sometimes
is.
sometimes I can't. And it's just like, okay, well, guess what? All those people that I helped, I'm going to tell them how I'm feeling, and some of them are going to help me.
Mm.
Some of them are going to tell me and remind me, like, hey, like, there's nothing you can do. And sometimes the best
Do
thing
you
you
feel
can
powerless in
do,
those situations?
I don't feel powerless. I feel heartbroken.
Mm.
I feel heartbroken. And I feel like,
Why do you feel heartbroken? Like what about those situations? Like, is it just because that they're going through something that you can't help it, or
yes,
the okay,
yes.
okay,
Again, like I said, I resonate with being the hero. So when I can't help someone that I can clearly see needs help, they're not asking for help. They might not even want help, but I feel that they need help. But I know I can't help them. It hurts.
mm.
It hurts me. I don't like that.
Mm.
I don't like that feeling at all.
Yeah,
And it's like I said, it's something I'm trying to work on. It's something I'm trying to grow with, because sometimes people need space.
yeah,
I don't want space from people I love because I know how short life is. I've been on the precipice of death a few times. I haven't even shared with you. Like I also had I was born with a birthmark over here.
Okay.
and if you look carefully, there's a scar.
Oh yeah, like scar down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a birthmark, and it wound up taking 4 surgeries to remove, and it developed cancerous, and had that cancer spread to, the non-birthmark skin, it could have been a real problem.
Mm,
So, and for that situation, I was quite stoic. Only like my family and very few people knew, right? It was a completely opposite experience of going through kidney failure and being like, I need a kidney, to live.
yeah.
I need your help.
Yeah.
So, that kidney experience is probably why I'm choosing the heroic journey, because yeah, like, you can look at like all sorts of media and stuff, and I mean, the anti-hero, especially like in the time that we grew up, right? Very popularized, very new concept in the 90s when we were like little children, little babies,
Yeah.
right? And now, I mean, I would say anti-heroes are as popular, sometimes more popular than the heroes,
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But yeah, it's just, yeah, it's I find it heartbreaking, I find it difficult, I find it frustrating. It's like if I could just help this person, I would feel better. But what I'm learning is it's not about me, it's about them and their journey, just like it's about me and my journey. And sometimes not being able to help someone and going through that grief, I needed to,
Yeah.
because sometimes the person or people that help everyone, sometimes it's their turn to ask for help.
Yeah. And I understand like you wanting to help everybody, but I'm also you know, we say give somebody a fish for a day or teach them how to fish. I'm always like, if I help them too much, I'm taking away from their own growth of
Exactly,
helping
right?
themselves.
Exactly. And I logically know that, but emotionally,
Yeah, it's tough.
especially when it's
It's
someone you
tough.
love,
Yeah.
like one of your like really dear friends that have done so many things for you. It's like, oh, can I just help you? Can I
Yeah.
just fix this? I hate seeing you in pain,
Yeah.
but I can't be giving them the fish that they need to catch themselves.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And like that's why I think I resonate with the anti-hero figure. He's like, my friend, he was going through stuff with his baby mama, right? And he told me the first time, I'm like, well, if you want to do something about it, do something about it. You could do this, this, or this. And then he's like, yeah, yeah, you're right, you're right. Second time he talks about it, like baby mama situation. I'm like, did you do any of the things I told you? It's like, no, because of this, because of that. I'm like, okay, well, maybe try this. And then baby mom situation again. I'm like, bro, like, why do you keep talking to me about this? Like, you're just not doing anything. You're just kind
Hmm.
of complaining to me. And I'm like, stop talking about it. If you're not going to do anything about it, stop talking to me about it. And it's just like, I'm just like that blunt and blatant about it. And it's like, I could take the more sensitive approach, but it's just my experiences, my life led me to
All right,
being that way.
and maybe your dad
Yeah.
would have been continuing to try to help this person,
Oh,
or maybe your
100%.
dad would have
100%.
let this person vent and take that pain on.
Yeah.
But it's like, in the Bible they say, like, do not judge for the sins of the father. Whereas like what I've learned from comic books is like the father and the son aren't the same.
Yeah.
And sometimes like we learn things. So you could have like this great, and like, the way you speak about your dad, if I ever meet him, like,
No, I love him.
I'll already have like this like very positive opinion of him.
Yeah.
But that a lot of character traits remind me of me, and some of the character traits that you're embracing. I mean, like my dad was extremely hard on me, and I just
Yeah.
wish he was a little easier on me.
See, it's like it's weird how like your parents are some way and you try to be the opposite. And it's like some people try to be the opposite.
Yeah.
We try to be the opposite of our own parents. Like he was, the thing is, he taught me so much about like being caring, about just taking on the responsibility
Hmm.
and being able to bear it.
Yeah.
But like I said, just the outcomes didn't yield the results that I don't know. It just led to a harder life than I think we should have had.
Hmm.
And I think just being so young and being exposed to that, it just created some sort of trauma response where it's like I don't want to be like that.
No matter how perfect our parents are, no matter what you do, no matter what they do,
Yeah,
always be childhood trauma. Because like I feel like, sometimes I'd look at my dad when I'm younger, I'm like, this dad's like going like to like parties with this other dad, and like these guys are hanging out, and my dad, outside of his immediate family and outside like the family unit that he was the head of,
yeah,
My dad had no time for socializing and stuff. He said no time for it.
Yeah.
He barely even kept up with his old friends, even the ones that wanted to keep up with them. He
Mm.
had his priorities.
Yeah.
And I respect that. And I love that about him.
But you also don't want to be like that.
I don't want to be like that. I
Yeah.
love people.
Yeah.
I'm a Pisces. I need to be around people. I need to help people. Sometimes I need to ask for help for people, right?
Yeah.
Like me and my dad are different, but some of the values like that my dad got, and as much as sometimes I hate to admit it, like you can take all of these superheroes here, any superheroes here, but my dad is my superhero.
Hmm.
And maybe my dad is the anti-hero. A lot of people don't see how good he really is, and he doesn't fucking care.
Yeah.
I care too much. My dad doesn't fucking care. I love that about my dad,
Yeah.
right? My dad and mom are opposites. I'm a lot more like my mom in many respects, but my mom can be, a little bit different than me in some circumstances. So it's like, okay, maybe I get this from my dad. Maybe I get this from the environment. Maybe this is already how I was going to be. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to like learn more and more about yourself. And then, one day it's like, wow, like I'm really different than how I thought I was going to end up.
Mm.
And it's special.
Yeah. You realize people, we've come to this realization because we ask the hard questions. It's like say you go out like a crazy weekend, get drunk and shit, and you spend a lot of money. You're afraid to look at your bank account because you don't know how you want to know how much you spent. Have you ever had that feeling?
Absolutely.
So it's like, but a lot of people do have that situation or that same habit with real life where it's like, this bad thing happened, but I don't want to look at that bad thing. So I'm just
Mm,
going to act like it's not there and like it didn't happen. But it's like, because, we ask ourselves questions about that situation, we come to the realizations of what we're supposed to learn. A lot of people, their trauma response is just to avoid it and they'll never talk about it. And then until it like literally hits them in
right.
the face that they have,
Avoidance, detachment, and
yeah,
then smack. And I think I was like that a little bit,
yeah,
right? I didn't get my blood tested because when I was younger, I get my blood tested. Oh, your ALT levels are too high. This is wrong with you. That's wrong with you. This test, that test. Like, I'm like, my performance isn't here. And then all of a sudden, you get a few things right
hmm,
and you start living this different life. And it's like, wow, I want to stay here forever,
yeah,
but you can't.
yeah,
And like a lot of young men feel invincible for a period of time in their life. And unfortunately, most of us learn the lesson the same way. And it's with the hammer, not the carrot. Like
yeah,
you get struck down, and it's like, okay, like it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up.
yeah,
Some people don't get back up.
yeah,
Some people get knocked down, and hey, that's where I'm going to stay. And then they'll get knocked down again, and they're so far away from their potential because they just kept getting up where they were. Like, no, I'm going to get up and climb that mountain again.
hmm,
And part of me at this point in time in my life knows, hey, I'm probably going to fall a couple more times on this journey to the summit, but
yeah,
I'm not going to give up because never give up.
yeah,
And if I have to pivot, I have to pivot. And not every desire has to be an absolute. I need to learn that, and I need to remember that. But at the same time, it's like, I have a lot of respect for people that pursue their passion because they're not giving up.
yeah,
I have a lot of, respect for people that choose the hard way because, I mean, easy is easy, but hard, it's like, that's a lot more work, it's a lot more impressive.
mm,
And it's not the path. Like, nobody really chooses the hard path except for people that are inspirational and they're different.
hmm,
And without people doing it the hard way, we won't know things are possible.
yeah. Because then they create the path. It's like that first man who ran the sub 4 minute
Yeah,
mile.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I was about to say that same story.
yeah,
Yeah, before, like, and they were athletes that could physically do it, but nobody thought it was possible, so
yeah,
nobody did it.
yeah,
And then someone did it, and then as soon as that record was broken, 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 broken.
yeah.
And yeah,
It's
like
crazy. It's just like the mind. That's why I'm always saying your thoughts create your reality. Because I'm like you put your own limitation on what you think is possible on yourself. I think I can become a god. Like I literally tell myself, you are a god, and you are becoming a god. And it's like, because I'm like everything that Let's just say this place is that you have your of your own. It's like you created everything here.
yeah,
Who's to tell you you are not a god? You created your reality.
No, I completely agree. Like
Yeah.
I have animals at my parents' house,
Yeah.
and sometimes I always get a kick out of it. Sometimes like like my cat Blizzard, he'll just look at me when I'm just like flick the lights off, and to him I'm a god.
Yeah.
I can control
Thor.
I'm controlling the sun,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
exactly.
he's an indoor cat. So
Yeah,
yeah, the lights are on because I
yeah,
can flick a switch.
yeah.
I can pull out a laser pointer.
Hmm.
He can't do that.
Yeah, exactly,
He
right?
can't even understand that. So
Yeah,
yeah, like
100%.
I think humans are godlike figures. I won't say gods. I do have some, monotheist beliefs.
Hmm.
But yeah, like, we are amazing creatures. We are like, I mean, like, look, there's like lights and cameras, and we're at a table drinking water, which is the most human thing to do, and we're having a conversation.
Yeah,
But then it just gets out.
yeah. People can see
It
it
just
right now.
gets out
People are
like that.
watching it. You know,
Like,
people
what
are
an
watching,
amazing superpower,
right? Yeah,
right?
100%. Um, so what's the next steps for you? What do you I know you said you were gonna start, working with your family and their business and stuff like that. But what's something that you are still trying to do or want to start doing to keep that passion alive in your life of the stuff that you love?
Um, I would like to actually take some of these poems, figure out what they are, and then turn them into music, and then share that music. I would like to go back to my passion of acting, and if that means plays, auditions, traveling for auditions, stuff like that, like putting myself out there, seeing what comes back to me. Those are the things I want to do. So I will go on auditions, and I will get, I got to put something on
I like
wax.
how it says I will.
I will.
I
No, I
will. You know,
absolutely will.
that's the mindset too. It's like,
It's not a matter of I'm gonna do it soon. It's no, I will, and I'm gonna do it my way, and it's an absolute. And the easiest way for anyone that doesn't believe in themselves the way I didn't when I was younger is start saying I will. Start doing the hard things.
I will, I
Fail,
am.
fall on your face,
Yeah,
and then when your friends are picking you back up and some of them are mocking you, be like, you know what? I'm gonna try again.
yeah,
And that's everybody fails,
yeah. They're gonna laugh at you first, then they're gonna be curious, then they're gonna see you like, oh shit, then they're gonna be a little frightened, and then they're gonna be like admiring you when you're at the top.
yeah.
It's like I knew that
And
guy,
it and
but they
if
were
and if
laughing at you at first.
exactly, right? They're like come on, like acting, like what you're gonna act, what you're gonna be in an orange juice commercial, like get out of here,
Yeah,
right? But hey, maybe I will.
yeah. Maybe you'll be the
and
best fucking orange
and
juice
and
commercial of all
and
time.
exactly, or maybe it'll like maybe pursuing that will be the journey that finds me like the wife that gives me the children that I am excited to be blessed with.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
that journey will lead for me travel. I love traveling. I
Hmm.
think everybody that has the opportunity to travel,
Hmm.
and there's so many ways to travel. Like, there's some people like, oh, I don't have the finances. Well, get a job at a travel destination that other people are paying so much money to go to and work there. Like,
Hmm.
like a lot of Australians, I have a lot of admiration because it's so far away. A lot of Australians are always working at Alberta ski hills.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Okay.
very common. So yeah,
Okay.
if you ever go to like Sunshine and Banff or Marmot and Jasper, yeah, you'll notice a lot of Australians are like the workers. When you go to Australia, there's a big love for Canadians. There's a lot of Italians will go to Australia and work in the sugarcane fields,
Okay.
right? So yeah, there are definitely ways that people, if they really want to travel, they will. I have an acquaintance that works on cruise ships and stuff. So he gets to see the world that way.
Okay.
You
Oh yeah,
know,
yeah, for
I
sure.
I wouldn't want to work on a cruise ship,
Yeah.
but I want to see the things that he's seen.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know,
People, yeah, definitely, because it's like there's a problem, which is I want to travel, but no finances. But there's creative solutions to all that problem.
exactly. There's a solution. Yeah, like reverse engineer every problem you have, and
Yeah.
you're gonna see things differently.
When you talk about reverse engineer, what I've done is use Chat GPT to like describe what I want my future life to look like the things I want to do, the things I want to be involved with. I'm like, what does the regular day in the life of somebody that looks like that, or it looks like that? Like, what does it look like? Then they break it down block per block. I'm like, okay, how does somebody get to that point? And it's like, it's just cool to see, like,
It's a really positive use of AI.
yeah,
I'm gonna steal that from you.
yeah, go ahead. Because it's like, okay, it's like I want to have a studio eventually where I pay creators to make, like my own IPs and stuff like that, or I even pay creators to make their own IPs. So it's like that's kind of like studio I want to have, and just like literally like a network hub for creators to join. I want to have a physical space as well, so if they want to come, they can have a few months of like accelerated learning,
Right. Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah. Kind
yeah,
of like an
creator
incubation
space.
chamber.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Y Combinator, but for artists.
Yeah.
And so I want to have that space just to be able to like give them the opportunity, because I wanted something like that for myself, and then just
Right.
for a few
Right.
months, and then
Be
so
the
like
change you want to see.
yeah,
Gandhi.
exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
You're
why,
literally, I wish this thing existed, so I'm going to make it.
yeah, exactly.
And guess what? If you make it, then other people will make it, and it might become a commonplace because I already want to go there.
Yeah, imagine if there's a space here which is like just a bunch of artists just trying to do accelerated learning, but then it's open to the public if they want to come take a look at certain times, like
Hmm.
what people are working on. So it's like, wouldn't that be cool?
I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I think the world needs this to be a reality.
Yeah, well, that's why I've thought about it. I'm like, I'm going to make it happen. It might not be this decade. It probably will be next decade, but it'll happen.
Right.
Unless the world changes so much that there's no need for it anymore, which is could be a possibility with AI. You never know. Where it's like, maybe it's like, that's the thing. I'm not so attached to this goal that I have in mind. That's like, I'm gonna do it no matter what. It's like, I want to do it for a purpose. The purpose is more important than the actual like
Hmm.
the thing. But it's like, if I can achieve that purpose in a different way at that time, then I'll do it that way. I'm not in love with the idea of it. I'm in love with what the results are going to come
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, there's different ways to get results, right? Like
Yeah.
it's everything in life kind of comes down to math, right? And numbers don't lie.
Mm.
And when we put the right inputs in, we're going to get to the output.
Yeah.
And those inputs can be anything. I can add fractions together, or I can add whole numbers together. At the end of the day, if I'm trying to make the number 8, I can make the number 8 so many ways.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is, right? So I agree. I really like the idea of that because in tech, they call them incubation chambers, and often someone will have all of these different creators like in the same house, and they have access to certain things. They have access to like creators they wouldn't normally probably speak with in person versus online.
Hmm.
And the person like hosting all that stuff, they'll take a small fee of the creation that's made. But I've never really seen that in art. Maybe it exists in places like New York, or
Yeah.
places that I haven't had a chance to like delve in as an artist versus a tourist.
Yeah.
But
They're probably
I've
like
never
maybe,
I've never heard of such a thing.
yeah.
And I have the internet, so
There's probably like self-imposed communities where it's just like a bunch of creator communities where it's just like, what are you working on? What are you working on? What are you working? And
hmm
it's kind of like it's the same vibe. But I want people to like that don't have access to that to be able to come there,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, and that's yeah, that sounds really appealing because I believe that
Because
some
it's
of
like
the
competition, but you're not competing like versus each other. You're competing against the world, but just making sure like seeing your peers, how hard they work, what kind of stuff they're
yeah,
working
it's
on.
motivating.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
motivating. It's iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. That's why I like going to work at like the library or cafes and stuff like that. Because I see other people working, and it's like it just makes you want to work more.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Or sometimes it's like, well, oh, I kind of want to go home. Like I did this a lot when I was studying, like at Starbucks or something. I want to go home. Well, that dude over there is studying, so you know what? I'm gonna leave after he leaves.
Yeah, yeah,
And who knows what's in his mind? He might be thinking the same thing. So we're
yeah.
both going, and and eventually, it's like, okay, like I actually am absorbing a lot right now. I'm glad I stayed.
It's like Kobe Bryant, where it's like I forget who walked in on Kobe, but he was like Kobe was already there working out. He's already drenched in sweat, but he came in after, and he kept going, and then Kobe told him after, it's like, I seen you walk in, and it's like, I seen you, getting shots up and stuff. I'm like, I'm not leaving before he does. And Kobe's already in the gym for like 2 hours before that.
Hmm.
And he's like, just that sort of mentality where it's like, I'm not gonna let you beat me. And the stupidest thing, but it's like, I kind of use that as like motivation, where it's like, I try to like find competitive stuff in like random situations, where it's like, I'm not gonna let you beat me. But it's sometimes even when I'm on like the treadmill machine or the elliptical, I'll be like, I'm gonna go for 10 minutes. And just because I said 10 minutes, I'm like, fuck that. Now I have to go for 12. It's like
Yeah.
I just want to beat myself. I'm like, I was comfortable with 10 and I was gonna go for 10 minutes. I'm like, just because I said 10 minutes, now I have to go for 12 or 15. Because I'm like, I have to outperform my own self. I have to like beat my own mind and
Hmm.
stuff like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And that's good, like it's like that's just another way to push yourself.
Yeah.
It's like I'd be satisfied at 10, but 12,
Yeah.
that's more.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I find myself doing that a lot where I'll say something and I'm like, fuck, now the fact that I said a certain amount, I have to go above that. And so I'll always shoot
But
for that
never
higher
below
amount.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Never
Yeah.
below, never below. Even if I have to take a break or something, I'll get back right on
No,
it and finish it.
I'm the same way. And I mean, I've been through some things. So right now I'm going through like a weight loss journey,
Yeah.
right? I got a little afraid of weighing myself when the first number was a 3, right? Talking pounds.
Yeah.
So, in the 300s, it was, I'm, just under 6 feet, right?
Yeah.
And if any girls are watching this, yeah, 6 feet,
6'1", 6'2".
6, yeah, 6'3". But yeah, so, I was like, okay. Um, I mentioned her earlier, but that same friend, come to CrossFit. And I was like, Andrew, I can't do CrossFit. I had a kidney transplant. I'm a high risk for osteoporosis. I I can't do
A lot of
anything.
excuses
I
there,
can't
right?
do anything. The
Yeah.
only thing I can do is diet, and like I can eat salt again. It's going to be hard to diet. Like I lost out on so many flavors. And she's like, no, like you can do this. Just try it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll try it. Prove her wrong. Prove myself right. But it was such a challenge, and I got so beat. But it brought back a lot of joys of things like I think kidney transplant means I can't do boxing, I can't do MMA, I can't do
Yeah,
football,
because you're gonna get
I
hit there.
can't play hockey.
Yeah.
I cannot get hit, and it's not protected like your kidneys are, right? It's in the abdomen. It's very exposed where they implant the kidney, even with a kidney guard, and you just don't like a lot of people. You don't have the same thing, but the beauty of the sport of CrossFit is you can compete against others in the CrossFit Games and stuff, but um, I'm just competing with myself.
Hmm.
I'm trying to not only get back into shape, but once I do finally get back into shape, I'm gonna be competing with young me.
Yeah.
What did I look like? Like never had a six pack. Can I do it now?
Yeah,
I think
exactly, right?
so. And if
Yeah.
I don't do it now, will I ever have one? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
Like Father Time's undefeated,
Yeah.
but I have time, and you know Andrea also gave me a sport back. I needed that. That's one thing I love about sports is like the discipline. Be it when I was doing martial arts, be it when like I was, playing soccer as like a little kid, because that's, a lot of people, their first sport is soccer, right? Like getting to play football, getting to be a starter, like, that competitiveness, that fun, that fire. It's like it's fun to feed those flames, and I get to do that again. And I didn't realize how much I missed it. I
Hmm.
didn't realize how sedentary I got. So, I'm like, I have a sport again. And it's not a contact sport, but it's a physical sport. I get to lift bars and clang weights around, and it was just different because I lost motivation to go to the gym because, when I'm bench pressing or doing those static movements, I'm doing that for this sport to get stronger. Whereas with this one, I'm kind of just having fun. Like I'm having fun and I'm improving,
Hmm.
right? And they record our numbers, and you get to, look back. It's like, wow, like
Yeah, you said you're gonna see
I've
improvement.
improved over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I've improved in other ways, and something that I'm doing right now, which if Coach Frankie hears this, I'm doing this for my goals. I go to Raglan Strength, and Coach Frankie Wood, he likes to push us to like lift heavier, to be stronger and everything. And I love that approach. But I'm also on a calorie deficit because I'm losing weight. So I can't outlift the version of myself that's like fully or overly nourished.
Yeah, because then you don't have the same energy. Yeah.
But
But it could be just a mental thing. It
I'm
could be
not
just a mental thing.
planning on going into any CrossFit games. I'm not planning on playing sports again. I'm actually looking for improvement in aesthetics, right? I wanna use my body as art. So that's like, okay, so I want to improve my aesthetics. So I have to stop the desire to be like, well, if Barry is lifting like with 50s, I need to grab 50s. No,
Yeah.
I need to lift what's right for me
Yeah.
at that moment in time.
Yeah. Because you're competing with who you were yesterday or who you were
Yeah.
last week when you did the same
And I'm
workout.
also and sometimes I'm not even competing. Sometimes I'm trying to fulfill my goals, and I need to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
Right? I have goals.
Hmm.
Am I going to get my goals by overdoing it and getting injured?
Yeah.
Am I
Exactly.
going to get my goals by getting past like the aesthetic look that I want? That yeah, maybe I'm stronger, but maybe that's not the look I want. Right? So like, what do I want versus how can I attain that? And I wish I had known these things when I was younger, but
But now you know. At least you know them now.
at least in 10 years, I won't wish that I knew them when I'm younger. I know it now.
Yeah.
I'm applying it,
That's why
and I'm
some
excited to learn more.
some people are late to the party, but at least you got an invitation.
I find people that criticize themselves for being late bloomers are always extremely high achievers, even if it is later in life.
Because it's always a comparison, right? It's like they see somebody 5 years younger doing better than them.
Yep.
But it's like just that one dude. Maybe, there's a couple dudes that the same. Like I find it baffling when there's 20-year-olds saying that it feels like it's so late in life because I see 18-year-olds like buying expensive cars and flying in jets. I'm like, bro, that's like the 1% of the 1%.
Yes.
I'm like, what are you comparing yourself to?
Yeah.
But that's all they see, and that's all they want to like. It's like I see kids like now saying, I want to make $1 billion. Like, you know how many billionaires are in the world? Like, you can count them on your hands probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Very few.
there's probably obviously more with like Saudi money and shit like that, but like there's not that many where it's like that's gonna be a dream that if that's what you're depending your happiness on, you're gonna live a very sad life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. It's great to have goals. It's great to have dreams, but it's also great to
But when it's
never
material,
stop chasing them.
yeah, but when it's materialistic stuff, like what are you gonna do with the money? Are you just gonna buy expensive shit? Like
Exactly.
if you want to change the world and make it a better place, that's a goal.
Yes.
Not like the money is just a tool for the goal. The money isn't the goal, because money is just a tool.
Exactly.
It's never a goal. And if somebody says it's a goal, then they don't really know what they're after.
No,
It's
not
just a
yet.
tool to allow you
Right? Like
something.
I like
Is it freedom? Is it to change something? Is it to invent something?
exactly. Like I went to law school, so I would ask sometimes, like, "Hey, why are you in law?" Because I knew I was in law to help people, and I was in law to, hey, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to be a sports agent, right?
Yeah,
There's so many people like, oh yeah, I'm in law because I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to drive a Mercedes. I'm like, well, there's lots of ways to make a lot of money.
yeah.
Like, why this? It's like, oh well, this is like this is the path that makes the most sense, and then often they don't stay there, right?
Is that right?
Yeah,
Because
like
they don't realize like it's hard work. You know,
it is
it
hard work, and you know what's even harder than like hard work? Working at something that you're not passionate about,
yeah,
right? When you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel like work anymore.
yeah,
It feels like your purpose. And
yeah.
you mentioned that earlier, right? And there's something really special about getting to experience your purpose, getting to be like, wow, like I really like this. Like,
Hmm.
like I have a lot of respect for people that do what they're passionate about. And sometimes like people are passionate about things that I don't want to do those things. But thank God they
Somebody
do.
else's, yeah. Like imagine somebody's passionate about insects. It's like I don't care about insects at all.
Hmm.
Somebody passionate about medicine. You
Yeah.
know, so like
Thank,
somebody
thank,
made
thankfully, a lot of people are
yeah.
obsessed with that because I
Somebody
would
made
not be
somebody made
alive without a
antibiotics. Like
lot of like medical
yeah, I
assistance.
was talking to somebody the other day, like somebody made antibiotics. Imagine before that,
Exactly. Yeah, I think about that often. Like before dialysis, someone with my condition,
Dead.
dead,
Yeah, that's it.
dead. I think I would have been dead, like yeah, in my late 20s.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
it's a blessing, and then for someone else that was their purpose,
yeah,
and now so many people are alive because of them, and they might not never know, but you know
yeah,
um, that's what they wanted.
yeah.
They wanted to
Exactly.
save people. They're heroes.
Yeah,
There's so many different ways to be a hero. Sometimes, and I firmly believe this, that sometimes you got to reach out to the youth, and sometimes you got to reach out to your elders and help, because they don't expect that from people our age, and I don't think we're like the previous generation. Um, and I think the more we help young people, uh, the more that they're gonna like pay that forward, and then when they're our age, they're gonna be helping younger people, or and they're gonna remember that kindness, because like I said earlier, it's really easy to be negative, but kindness is part of being positive. And when you choose positivity and when you choose to be kind, the impact is greater,
Hmm.
right? Negativity, it's like you'll forget about it. Like, like you might have a bad day and swear at someone, but yeah, I mean, other than extremely like rare circumstances, do you really remember like, the guy that cut you off like 7 years ago in December? I don't.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think about them, and I don't really want that memory in my memory banks. And
Yeah.
if it is there, hey, like maybe it was a traumatic experience, and maybe I'm supposed to remember it and do something with it. But you know what I do remember? I do remember this guy, like, telling me that I was not far enough to the left so he could turn right, and he's swearing up a storm and everything, and I just told him, I'm sorry you feel that way, and I hope you heal. He looked at me, and he heard me very clearly because we were both stopped. I could have driven away, but I was like, you know what? Like, this guy needs to vent. I could see him gesturing behind me, and he's like, thank you for saying that. And he drove off, and I felt all of his animosity. I could just see as he was driving off, he let it go. And you know what? I'm like, well, I kept my karmic slate clean, and it's not going to work with everybody, but it worked with one guy. That's the whole reason that I made that pact to do that,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be the victim of road rage, and I certainly don't want to impact like my karmic debt. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
but that's not what I need to make anymore.
Yeah. 100%. I have such a weird sense of humor. I'm just like imagining that guy driving off you, and he's like looking in the rear mirror. He's like, "Fuck that guy."
Hey, hey, maybe, but you know what? I thought to myself as I was
But
driving
the thing
off,
is,
I'm like,
like, this
I'm like,
is
I hope I made that guy's
you.
day a little bit better.
Yeah. Hey, maybe you changed that day, which turned into a good week, which turned into a good month, which turned into a good year.
Yeah, and maybe not. And here's the beautiful thing.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Well,
Nothing.
I may share space, time, and like this
Because like,
planet with him, but
yeah,
I don't
the
know who he is.
the kindness that you create is just ripples, and it's like you have enough of those small ripples that it becomes waves.
Yeah, and I'm
You know.
talking about that moment because I was proud of myself. Because
Yeah.
sometimes being kind to others
That's
means
something
you're being kind to yourself.
that's something to be bragging about. It's not
Yeah,
bragging about cars and all this stuff. It's like, yo, I was kind.
yeah,
I changed someone's life, hopefully. But it's like, that stuff that I like, that you should flex about.
yeah. That's a true flex.
Yeah, that's a true flex.
That's a true flex. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We've been at this for 2:15. Is 2 hours 15 minutes. Is there anything else you would like to say? Anything you want to get off your chest?
Yeah, I'd like to revisit some of these topics one day with you if you're
Awesome.
open to it.
Yep.
Love another opportunity to do something else, uh, on your podcast. We did discuss going to an art museum, so we should do that one of these days. And
Yeah.
I hope that this like new friendship just continues to grow. I appreciate you. It's very easy to talk to you, and I am a fan of the art. Like it is really
Thank you.
mind blowing,
Thank
and
you.
obviously this is your podcast, so if people aren't following Johan the artist, why? How did you even find
Yeah.
this?
How'd you find this? Yeah.
But
Exactly.
yeah, and I know that you're opening up your art to the public, so that's something that's a
Yeah.
motivating
I'm
that's a
becoming.
motivating thing for me to do, and maybe work with you on a piece one day when the timing is right.
Yeah. I'm
And
becoming
yeah,
more disciplined and more intentional with how I present the artwork, and that's in the process. So you're going to see a big shift in the next few months.
and I'm
So
excited to see that.
yeah.
And you're going to see a big shift in terms of I'm going to start outputting the art that I've been holding in,
Yeah.
and I'm going to show that artistic side of me that I've had suppressed when I was younger because of peer pressure, and that I had actually, I want to say suppressed by illness, but it was actually released.
Hmm.
It was actually released by the illness. I would not have returned to poetry without getting sick. I don't think. Who knows?
That's the silver lining.
That's the silver lining, and you
Yeah.
got to look for the silver linings.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm always like, if something bad happens, I'm like, it could have been worse. You could be dead right now.
exactly.
You
Every
could be.
every every day of your life is a gift, and
Yeah.
I mean, is dying so bad? We don't really know what happens.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
never know. That could be the biggest silver lining.
I feel like I feel like
Imagine.
it actually could.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like it actually could.
Yeah. You never know. But that's why you just deal with every situation in a positive way.
Yeah, one by one. You
Yeah.
know, we all have our time, and that's kind of the beauty of being mortal. We don't know when that time is going to be up,
Yeah.
but with the time I've got, even if I'm working towards my goal and I expire before I achieve that goal, it's the
It's just a
journey.
pursuit. Yeah.
It's
It's a
yeah, it's
pursuit.
the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
It's the journey, and it's life.
Yeah.
Let's
Awesome.
live it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Adeel, for being on here. Thank you,
Thank
young
you, Johan.
Coconut.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, once in a few months, once we revisit this, you'll have some of your art to show, and then we'll, play it or listen to it or interpret
Yeah,
it
I
or
mean, I've got
experience it.
some. I mean, I've got some raws. If if you're interested, I can definitely share it with you. And
Okay.
you're an artist. Maybe we
Yeah,
can
whenever you
do
release
something
it,
with
that
that.
I'll be a supporter for sure, because Raws sure, but I want you to
Yeah,
release
I
it.
I want to release the finished
Yeah,
project too.
yeah.
Like
Even if it's just like you just release it, but you don't really tell any people except your inner circle, as long as it's on a platform that it's released for the public, that's a different thing than
I
just raw
agree,
files.
right? Because then
Yeah,
it's out there.
it's out there,
Yeah.
100%. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.